Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Only a Carpathian would come back to life now and choose New York. Tasty thick. Bonehead.
We were every bit the force. We live, we breathe, we sweat, we paid the price to be the best. Never been about the boys in the office. The boys that have gone out there night in and night out, doing everything they could to be the very best at what they chose to do in their life. Those boys are here tonight.
Well, I must have been away too long because my feelings are dead. I feel no remorse.
I only am who I am because I was born that way. I have a gift, and I am trying to not be selfish about it, but to use it.
My job consists of basically masking my contempt for the assholes in charge. And at least once a day, retiring to the men's room so I can jerk off while I fantasize about a life that doesn't so closely resemble hell.
It's my house, and if you don't like it, get the fuck out.
Grab a dog. I choke him, and I kick the shit out of him. And I all day long, I put up a dog's ass. That's bang, bang, bang up his ass. That's my pleasure.
Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again. Here you go, America. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you.
Sometimes shit happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you going to call?
Oh, you guys like to tell jokes and giggle and kid around, huh? Giggling like a bunch of young broads in their school. Well, let me tell a joke.
And boom goes the dynamite.
We have whiskey with your water, sugar with your tea. What are these crazy questions that they're asking of me? This is the wildest party that they ever could be. Well, don't turn on the light, 'cause I don't want to see. Mama told me not to come. Mama told me not to come. Mama said it ain't no way to have fun. Open up the window, let some air into this room. I think I'm almost choking on the smell of stale perfume. That cigarette y'all smoking about to scare me half to death. Open up the window, let me catch my breath.
This is the Ron and Fez show. What a party we had the other night, Fez.
Hiya, buddies. At Caravas in the village.
All right, Ron and Fez show. I'm Ron, there's Fez.
Hiya, buddies.
Earl and music.
Party at Caravas in the village over the weekend. Great time. Some people had a really, really great time. A lot of things, a lot of drinks flowing at Caravas.
I do not want to give out any names, Fez, because what happens at a Ron and Fez party should stay at a Ron and Fez party. But some nights when you go out, people are drinking, and that's the reason why you go out to party. You go out to enjoy yourself, to have a nice time. And every party you have, one person is probably going to be a little too drunk. And then the people in the party come in to make sure that person is okay. But when it turns into a landmine where there's one person too drunk, and as you go to him, there's another person behind you too drunk, and it's like the bird flu just sailing up and down and around the steps at this party, you know it's one of those nights. You couldn't go upstairs, you couldn't go downstairs, you couldn't go outside without somebody that you know well being so drunk and telling you something from their personal life that you don't want to hear. I can only say this party, total embarrassment to 45% of the people who showed up.
Like drunk dominoes, they went down to the point of you couldn't have a conversation with most of the people, where you would try to talk to people and try to get away from a drunk person, but the next person you talk to is just as much nonsense.
866 Ron Zero Fez, 866 Ron Zero Fez. Now, you would think the one thing that we could act like was okay was our own staff. You could act like, you know what, at least we know our gang is going to be there. But we had our own weak link that night. Young brother runs by the name of Eastside Dave. Embarrassed himself in ways that, and I will not mention anyone else. Please relax now, ladies and gentlemen, because you're friends of ours. You got a little too carried away, but it is a family, so we're going to look out for you. So you're okay. But a member of our own staff, Fezzy, who should not have been even drinking by Hoyle, by any rule of society that we have, I believed if he was not the most embarrassing, he was right up there with it. And here's what now embarrasses me for Eastside Dave, is he has now taken on the realm of professional. He's a professional entertainer and behaved in what could not be described in a professional way. It was an embarrassment. And here's what happened, too. That embarrassed me more than anything else. Anthony was there.
Anthony was there, and Eastside Dave decided him and Roberto were going to go up and perform with the band.
Well, we had talked about that before, that they were going to go up and perform. And I told him time and time again, is this going to be a decent show? Is this going to be together? And this is before I realized that Anthony was going to be hanging out. And I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit and just tell you something that we don't say every day here. And we don't say it because we are professionals. Anthony is Willie Mays. Now, we're all professional ball players. We know what we're doing. But one of us happens to be Willie Mays. The man plays on a different level. Now, since we wear the same uniform, we don't bring it up. We don't go, hey, there's Willie Mays. We act like, yes, we're all on the same team. But there he is. He's Willie Mays. He's the place triples go to die. We know this, so we try to, when we're performing around him, be at a decent level. If I miss the O&A show during the day, and I tend to do that because I keep odd hours, I'll just call it Fez and I'll go, how did Willie Mays do today? He's going to go 3 for 4 and he stole 2. So when Willie Mays is playing, you don't act like a moron with your stupid puppet. You try to act like a professional. If Charlie Parker walks into a club, you don't say to yourself, hey, I play too, stick your ass up to a tube and fart into it. You do not do that in front of the bird. Now, at this point, Anthony comes in. Fez and I are in a good mood. We're taking care of him and his chick. Everybody's happy. It's the early part of the night. Little do I know, my retarded little brother has wandered up on stage, deciding to shit in a cup and then rub it into his red hair. At this point, Eastside Dave and Roberto say they are going to perform for us. A chill goes through my body because I say to myself, I'm sitting next to Roy Hobbs, the best there's ever been. I know this for a fact. Eastside Dave goes on stage, attempts to perform, and actually doesn't turn the mic on at all. He has a soaking wet puppet that's dripping ugly, disgusting puppet juice all over himself. And the jaw doesn't work. So there is no illusion of song. And what was the song he was singing, Fez?
It was Del Shannon's Little Runaway.
Now, I'm sitting next to Anthony. Fez is next to Ant's chick because, let's face it, she's his favorite. He's the favorite of her. You know why? Defenseless bunny. Me on the other side, maybe I'm crying out for help. Maybe that is why I act like a mean person. I don't know. Maybe that's the child that needs more love. That's a whole different story. Fez turns to me, and Fez, you were absolutely white as this was going on.
Oh, man, I couldn't believe it because this is, he's up there and there's no stopping him at this point. The band's playing.
Yeah.
You can't hear a word.
The rocket has left the launch pad. There's nothing we can do about it. You look at me and you say, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, and I'm like, if there was a steak knife on the bar that I could have flung across the room into the heart of either Roberto or Dave.
Go hit Dave, not Roberto. It doesn't make sense to hit Roberto.
I would have done it. And and immediately after I tell you I think I'm going to throw up, I'm thinking, is there any way to excuse myself from Anthony and his chick?
Right.
You know, so I can slink away.
Mr. and Mrs. Willie Mays.
So that I'm just
the Mazes.
So that it looks like, you know, oh, just some drunk listener got up on stage and started being nutty.
Yeah, and then they're going, isn't that the redheaded kid from your show?
Oh. And there's such a place in my heart for Anthony because he was so good to me after I had my heart attack.
Let's not make it about you.
I know, but still, there's just a place in my heart there. I feel like I'm part of their family.
You know what? I wouldn't even care, Fez. He could spit every day. He's still Willie Mays. That part, whether he's nice or not, Roy Hobbs has entered the building. Can we please keep it together?
And besides not even turning on his mic, Eastside Dave is just lit at this point, too. He's practically stumbling up there, eyes rolling back in his head.
He has been handing his tips to the bartender, Chinese lighting money, whatever that happens to be. So the bartender's also running around. Mikey D has screamed at me, neither one of your producers showed up today. I had to run sound by myself and hang up the XM banners. Fez, I don't know what happens here. I do not know what happens.
Dave made a vow to us days ago that he was not going to drink at that gig. He was going to be professional. By the time I got there, he was 3 white Russians into it.
And then like a schoolgirl yelling out, this is so sweet, I don't even taste the alcohol. That's what a 16-year-old girl says, not a full-grown man. You don't run around talking about how good your drink tastes. Oh, what a fucking nightmare.
And with everyone else so smashed, he should have been one of the people that was, you know, maybe walking around helping put out fires, not being the wildfire, the controlled burn that he is.
Well, it wasn't my best day. Maybe.
Was it your last?
I would hope not.
So now you're telling us at the end of the night you lost, and I don't know whether you were... Oh, I guess you were still there, right, Fez?
Yeah, I was still there.
At the end of the night, and this guy, he attempts to call me at home over this, you lose your puppet.
Yeah, my puppet was lost.
Roberto.
So I think, until I found a napkin where Roberto had been stationed the entire night that said...
All right, where you say that Roberto had been stationed, do you know that you put on 2 different women's coats and ruined both coats with stinky puppet runoff?
Jean jackets all look alike. There should be some sort of marker.
Why would you stick a ugly, disgusting puppet that had been soaking for a week in its own juices on anyone's jacket?
Well, I sort of thought it was my coat. Because again, the denim look, it's not very unique.
2 women at our party could not wear their jackets home because you ruined them with dripping puppet Kool-Aid water.
I'll pay the dry cleaning bill on those. I promise.
They're not going to dry clean that. They're going to throw it out. That's like saying, oh, I spanked all over your kid, but don't worry, here's a bar of soap. It's going to be fine. They will go everywhere the rest of their life just thinking a filthy David Blaine-type puppet was on top of this coat. Why drunk at the gig when you know that you were supposed to perform?
Well, it was in a bar And I thought, maybe I'll just have a White Russian. I just watched Big Lebowski and thought that would be a nice drink to have.
Here's another thing. I hate people who drink what they just saw someone drink in a movie, whether it's a martini or whatever. That's not a drinker. That's a girl.
Well, so I thought, and they were tasting, very delicious that night. Very, nice and...
Yeah, you told me. You told me a lot of times.
Over and over.
When you weren't telling me that you love me, and this is the best job you've ever had.
Oh, fuck.
And we're all best friends, and we're going to be best friends forever.
Let me ask you this, Ronnie. With Eastside Dave and that speeches you were just bringing up, did you also get the very slow, I'm leaning in to kiss you on the cheek, Eastside Dave?
No. He wouldn't fucking dare.
That's what I got.
Well, that's your own fault, because I would have choked him out so fast. And there's not a jury that would have convicted me, Fez. Now, at the same time, I'm dealing with other people. You know what I mean? People that are listeners, subscribers, if you will.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Clients.
Okay.
And they're falling in puddles. They're doing mad dashes away. The people are breaking up in front of us. Okay? One guy said the room was filled with evil, and he needed his brother there to protect him.
It was a pretty wild night.
It was a bad, crazy night for a sober person.
It had that Doors 1968 in Miami, where Jim Morrison just loses it and starts calling everyone slaves and that Hitler is better than them.
I mean, we're down in this cellar, deep in the village, and it's the Dinkins years. It's like we had walked in to a crack den.
Now, that place is a great place, but every time we have a function there, it's pure evil. And maybe...
Who are you, Rory now? I don't want to hear the term evil again. No one is evil. They just subscribe to a different service than you, Rory. Don't go out of your way and talk voodoo stuff.
Well, it just has a strange vibe then. I won't say evil, but a strange...
People drink more there. That is true.
And because it's in the basement, it's got that, there's no sunlight.
I know, it's Paris. It's like the underground Paris scene. It's a junkie hellhole. We love it for that reason. And I do not even mind the party people getting out of control. But you, of all people, you're dragging a sick, dead puppet around with you, which you apparently lose or was taken from you, like you're a girl.
Yeah.
You embarrass yourself in front of Aunt.
Yeah, maybe. I
take that so personally.
Why did you have the mic? Why wasn't the mic turned on?
I think it was, Ron.
Why didn't the puppet's jaw work?
Well,
why didn't you have two mics?
Can we?
So the puppet had its own mic instead of just hanging off your side like a dead piece of meat. There was no illusion. There was no illusion of anything, that the puppet was alive for a second. The jaw didn't move. It didn't make the spotlight.
I don't even think, well, it was impossible to hear him, but I don't even think he changed his voice to sing as himself and Roberto.
I changed.
It would be like if Del Shannon was up there just holding a Raggedy Ann doll.
Well, let's not forget that the puppet spent about 8 days in a tank of water.
Did anybody tell you had to go up and do this puppet show when the puppet wasn't ready? Did any of us think it was a good idea?
No.
Or did you practice this with the band? Who, by the way, did a great job. I will say that for Crankshaft. They did a wonderful job.
Crankcase.
Yeah. And I love our hot bi chicks dancing in cages. That was wonderful. One of them gets a little too carried away. Yells out rape. I'm not going to say who that was. But she takes the idea of a girl rapist. I'll just say her name rhymes with Frenchie.
The thing is, I don't, feel... I've seen American Graffiti. That's where I first fell in love with the song Runaway by Del Shannon. Mm-hmm. And I feel, I had on my iPod for the entire week leading up to the performance.
Right.
I didn't really feel like a rehearsal was necessary. And I felt that we had a strong number.
How would you go to a dead mic? Why would that happen?
What the thing was, it seemed like they turned up their guitars and drums a little bit. That's the
to 11.
Yeah, it seemed like they...
I know Sheepy says his pants was shaking.
Well, and I felt like the vocals were pretty strong. It couldn't be heard. But remember, Ron, also, you guys were on the other side of the bar. People who were close to the band, I think, heard a good performance of Del Shannon's Runaway.
Wouldn't an entire room have to hear a song? I mean, everybody heard all the Crankcase songs.
Everybody said to me all night, nobody was worse than Dave.
Yeah. Well, that's technical stuff that I can't get into. I'm not a professional musician, but...
there's an on button, right?
Yeah, I think...
Do you walk around your house in the dark?
No.
Or do you have to bring in a technical person to flip that switch for you?
Well, maybe if Mars was there, I could have,
So this is Mars's fault.
No.
I kept hearing you were afraid to touch the mic because your stupid puppet was so dripping, soaking, gross wet that you were going to get electrocuted.
They did warn me not to have the puppet and the mic, and so that was a problem because I couldn't get close to the microphone.
Why not dry off the puppet? Why not have a puppet? Why? You're not a puppeteer. This isn't a puppet act. It's an embarrassment.
Well, the puppet was singing the chorus. So.
Okay, but why, on the other hand, too, did you go paying your tip money with Chinese fire money, whatever the hell it's called?
That was a mistake. That was an innocent mistake. Bobo was handing out fake money that night, and I, occasionally 3 or 4 times tried to tip the bartender with the fake money.
Why? Karavis was being really nice to us. John Karavis treated us very well that night.
It looked...
So why try to screw his bartender?
It looked very real. It looked very real, so... That was my mistake. I'll take full responsibility for that.
He treated us well, or he made out like a bandit, Fez? Which did he do?
I think a little of both.
It was a good night. In retrospect, the amount of White Russians, I can't apologize for having a White Russian or two, but maybe I could have slowed it down a little bit. Yeah. They were going down a little too easy, and at first I thought...
You shouldn't have had any.
Because they were going down so easy, I thought, I'm not sure there's any alcohol in here. So I would get another one, and I would try and drink it, and it would go down real easy. And I'd say, I'm not sure.
You ended this song making out with this puppet.
Yeah, that was one of the more embarrassing moments. But I just wanted to express my feelings for my puppet.
And then you lost him. Now he's gone, right?
I was glad I did.
All right, so what kind of things have you got about the puppet?
I have a folder in there.
Bring it in here. This is where we do the show.
Yeah, okay.
Now, you were there, Fezzy, when this happened?
Yeah, what happened was I was upstairs at Karavis getting something to eat.
And then what happened, Fez?
Yeah, and then he went looking for his puppet and couldn't find it, Eastside Dave. And he came back up. Next thing you know, he had Bri down there looking for his puppet. And I said... And I figured he had just misplaced it.
Yeah, let me take a look at this. This is... The Master of Puppets claims that he sold this. So, at the end of the night, this is what you find. Where your puppet used to be, there's a sign here that says, no payoff, no puppet.
Yeah, that was just the first clue that I had, that possibly some, trouble had occurred.
Now, this came to you by email, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's a very bizarre thing. Here they are. Here's a picture of your puppet, which looks like 2 Al-Qaeda guys have it. The puppet himself is gagged, and a little kid is part of this, or that's another puppet, I can't tell. And they even have that day's Daily News, so this isn't some old puppet picture from before.
Yeah, he's holding a knife up to Roberto's throat. Roberto's, in addition to... being blindfolded, he's duct taped, which I don't know why.
All right, now, I know that little kid wasn't at the party. I can't tell who the other puppet thief is.
Yeah, one of the puppet insurgents in this photo. They're sitting on like a little kid's playhouse, too, or something.
Can we get this online? Can we get these pictures online?
Sure.
Have you sent these to Mikey Boy yet?
I will send them as soon as the break happens.
Now, are you behind this, Dave? Is this a way of keeping yourself?
This
swear to Jesus as a Catholic?
The swear to Jesus and all of my relatives and all the saints in heaven that I am not behind this. It's very depressing, actually, and he, the things that Roberto's been through, I can only imagine. And
that's with you.
And I'm just gonna say this right now: if you to Master of Puppets, if you hurt one hair on his head, okay, blood will be spilled.
How smart. He's trying to show that he's a human right now. How smart of him to do that.
Dr. Lecter.
No, but seriously, it is my puppet. I mean, could I have him back even if he doesn't?
Well, it says no pay. Are you willing to pay for him?
Yes.
How much?
$20.
So you're going to actually pay somebody to steal your puppet. That's basically what you're doing.
No, I really want him back. $20. That feels fair.
But let me get this straight.
Yeah.
Let's say you think of this as somebody in your family.
Okay.
All right, let's suppose someone grabs someone in your family, right?
Yeah.
Pulled them away, threw them in the trunk of a car, tied them up and abused them. You're going to hand that person $20? Thank you. Here's a little tip for you.
I would probably be willing to pay upwards of $1,600.
Why would you pay anybody to abuse your stuff or your family?
When they know you'll be so drunk again at some point, they could just lift him up one more time.
Even if they don't, even for one time only, someone's going to take your property and now you're going to tip them?
I have to, Ron. How else am I going to get him back? Let's think about this here.
Detective work, my friend. How many? There weren't. It was a fairly closed party. There's got to be some way that you can figure out who these eyes are. Obviously, don't follow the little kid. He wasn't there. This other person has got to be somebody that was at that party.
At first, I thought it could have been Alki, small child.
All right, I don't want to give away names, but Alki was every bit as drunk as you.
Yeah, it's not him, too.
I don't think he could have pulled anything off like that night.
Because he doesn't remember anything that happened?
No, I'm looking at the body type of this gentleman who, no offense, he just seems a little thinner than Alki's. Man's very wiry. And the child is too young to be one of Solares' kids, so.
Do not focus on the child.
I think the child is really the whole clue to the mystery. Because
the good thing here is you can tell they're in the suburbs.
Yeah.
So it's a nice getaway weekend.
It looks New Jersey to me.
In this one shot of Roberto's being forced to wear a Red Sox cap.
Right. That threw me for a loop.
I didn't even notice that.
I was wondering, is he from Massachusetts or something? But then I thought, no.
Or is he in Massachusetts?
Well, that's your favorite team, the Sox.
That's why he did it, because he knows I despise the Red Sox. The Yankees rule. The thing is, he would not be in Massachusetts because no one from Massachusetts would buy the New York Daily News. They would buy the Boston Herald or something like that.
Here is Mike. Mike, you're on Fez.
Hey, man, I just wanted to tell Dave I'll add $50 to the ransom, man, to help him out.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
All right, $50 is
70.
in.
We're up to 70.
Here's Father Nick. You're on Fez.
How you doing?
Yeah.
It's Ron and Fez?
Yes, it is.
Hi. This is Father Nikolai. I spoke with you about Christmas this year.
How are you?
I'd like to make an offer of $100 for the return of the puppet to me and declare whoever took to be a saint.
Thank you very much. All right, so people are chucking in some money for you and your puppet.
And from a priest, that's a humongous compliment. So, yeah, that's $170 that will be going to the Roberto Ransom Charity Fund.
I just don't understand why you would pay somebody for taking something of yours. I'd rather hunt that. I'd rather use that money to hunt these people down and take them out.
Maybe I could turn it around on them and use the money as a bounty. You know what I mean?
I don't understand why, if this puppet's so important to you, you just leave him laying around somewhere on women's jackets where he could be taken.
Because you're so drunk on White Russians like a schoolgirl. Because you can't handle your liquor.
He needs his independence sometimes. You know, we hang around pretty much 24/7. I thought it'd be good to meet other people.
Larry, you're on Ron and Fez.
I say you guys need to put up an offer to leave Dave out in the field somewhere tied up and taped up, and then make a switch for Roberto.
All right, thank you very much.
I wouldn't be opposed to sacrificing myself for that. As long as he's back, safe and sound, I don't want any pieces of him cut off. That's what I'm really worried about.
Why not put that idea out there, then? Wouldn't that be the smartest thing for you to do?
There's something a puppet napper probably never thought of, Dave.
Yeah, if you start to cut off pieces, I will start to give you more money.
I just was, I don't want to be getting a puppet toe sent in the mail.
Matt, you're on Ron and Fez.
Good morning, buddies. Dave, you're not American, man.
No?
We do not negotiate with known terrorists.
Thank you. That is the point I'm trying to make. Why are you saying if somebody does something horrible to me, I will hand them money? I don't understand it.
Well, maybe I will rethink it, but for now, the ransom stays. Mike and Father Nick have already sent the funds to the Roberto.
I don't understand why you're setting up a ransom.
All right, is this actually Earl the Puppet Master?
He claims to be the Puppet Master.
Did he use the code word on the email?
Pitts
Earl.
knows.
Word on the email.
No, we're trying to find that out now from Pitts.
All right,
Well, Pitts is right next to you. No.
He did not, no.
Did not use, and then hung up. Thank you. Earl, I can't be both places, bro. Just like you couldn't be there to get the gig together the other day, the way you said. I need you to be over there being a what? A pro what?
Producer.
Right. Pro what?
Deucer.
Deucer. Right. Now, when you said, I'll be down there in 5, and you show up at what time did he show up, Dave?
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock.
Maybe later, because he...
quarter of.
That's NEW, Earl, isn't it?
Yes.
And you were going to be what, Earl, this time?
XM.
How come you didn't do it?
No, I was doing some stuff here at the office.
What were you doing so important?
I had to clean up some of the audio for the weekend replay.
I also heard that Earl was playing Jersey Rich's bass without even... He just picked up his bass and started playing it without even asking Jersey Rich.
Jersey Rich is mad about that?
He said, there looked like there was a scratch done to it.
Earl, why were you doing that?
No, we're just talking. What are you
When you pick up someone's bass and start to play, it's like
Dave?
touching their dick. They hate that. That's his instrument. Why don't you just pull his dick out and start trying to piss with it, Earl?
But unlike the other producer, I was sober as a judge, and I made sure everything. Did the best I can to make sure everything go okay, and I made sure to
making sure things are going okay. Does that mean spending the night chasing hot black girls? Because that's all I saw you do, brother.
Hey, I was being social.
He was after the Supremes that night.
Whereas I brought T-shirts and keychains, Ron.
Well, wait a minute. No, I get on the train. I get in the last car. As I'm approaching the train, what do I see scattered all over the subway platform? Our keychains, which I picked up and brought to the event.
Because he doesn't offer to carry one thing. I'm carrying a 300-pound puppet tank, 10 T-shirts.
Why would you be taking the whole puppet tank with you?
Because he was way too wet to be cargoing him just by himself.
I told him, why didn't you dry off the puppet?
Did. I tried to. I squeezed him out.
You throw him in a dryer.
I can't throw him in the dryer. He's out there in socks. He might. He's like a real person.
Put him in a microwave.
You could have put him in a dryer. You could have hung him on a clothesline out a window. You could have taken a blow dryer to him. You empty the water out of the tank and then let his mildewed, gross Kool-Aid body sit there back in the tank for another couple days.
I squeezed him out like a towel, but it just didn't happen, so I needed to transport him in the thing with all the Ron and Fez stuff. Maybe Earl could have brought a keychain or something like that.
All right, so both of you did a bad job, right? And despite that, the party went well.
Yeah,
people were overly drunk.
No, I'll admit, I made a mistake for trusting Dave. That's the mistake I made.
That's your only one.
Not you don't own up to the fact that you announced on this show you would be there by 5 to make sure things went well, and you showed up like a listener at 8.
Shut up.
And then started playing the bass.
But again, that was from trusting Dave. We had a crew there.
You made an announcement on this show.
Yes, I did.
will be there at 5. What time did you show up?
I got there 7:45, but I got backtracked here.
What time did you call me? And just had nothing but time for small talk.
No, I called you at 7.
Right. Why would you? Making small talk.
That wasn't small talk. I was touching up on... Never mind.
I'm going to call Wiki after the show and say he's got to get somebody else to do the replays. Because Earl can't do his work if he's got to do the replays.
No, it was a minor thing, but I made the adjustment to it. I made one adjustment that took a lot longer than I thought it would.
You made, because you didn't show up on time last time to the gig, you made an announcement, as you said, before God and the nation of America, that you would be there at 5 o'clock.
Yes, but situations happen.
And you told me probably 3.
Yeah. You can't always show up, as you call it, CPT. That can't happen.
No, I understand that, but I also understand that things happen. Other outside things happen. The last time I was late, I couldn't help it if a train was stalled. I was on my way there.
No, everyone thought you were lying.
Why was I lie about that?
Because you are afraid to show up and hang up banners and do producing work.
I did it for 5 years at NEW.
Never
I'm
for
not,
us.
I know, not for you guys.
You weren't known for doing it well at NEW. That's when you got the NEW, Earl.
No, when I was a one-man street team, of course, I mean, things are going to fall through the cracks. We didn't even have a street team. I was the street team.
Right. We didn't have a street team.
Now, the last time you were late, you were over an hour and a half late. That was because of a stuck train?
Yes, I was at Queens. I could name the stop. I was at Queensboro Plaza on a 7 train.
For an hour and a half.
I was stalled, completely stalled.
There was people stuck in a train for an hour and a half, and that never made the New York Post or the Daily News.
There was a signal. They said it was signal problems, and then it wouldn't go all the way into Times Square, and then I had to get off and take an N train into Times Square and walk across.
Never get on the N train. You're just like anybody else. You take the same trains as everyone else. We march so you don't have to take an N train, Earl.
I also take the same trains as Earl from Queens, and I was there at McFadden's very prompt. Very much on time.
take the prompt for a listener, not for a producer.
No, I was even early, I think.
No, you weren't.
I wasn't?
No. I check on these things.
All right, but I was definitely early for this party. And things got done.
What, so you could start chugging and handing out Chinese money to people?
Well, that was...
Do not act like you're the fucking ace right now. Earl, he just didn't attempt. You attempted, and quite frankly embarrassed us. The song in front of Anthony is a career low point for me. Did you get the Willie Mays metaphor I was throwing out there early?
It was like I maybe struck out a few times.
No, it's like you showed up and used a fish as a bat. That's what I'm fucking trying to tell you. In front of the Say Hey Kid.
I apologize.
The Say Hey Kid.
Well,
that's my problem.
Number 24.
I don't want you to just repeat and act like that's what I'm talking about.
All right.
Here's Tim. Tim, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
All right, Ron, you need to understand that CPT is a recognized unit of time. So you can't blame Earl for, showing up a little bit late. And
3 hours.
Shitty that, well, I mean, yeah, it takes a while. And also, it's kind of shitty of Dave to lay focus off on Earl when he was the one that actually fucked up the glory days.
It was a double abortion. Let's face it like that.
Yeah, I agree. I give you that.
I mean, 3 hours late is late even for CPT.
Well, I don't know. I showed up 3 hours late for my wedding.
I'm gonna believe him, Fez. And now, you know what, Earl? I'm not in the islands, though. I mean, we have a system of measurement here that we use in the United States, and I can't use you next time. I can't say Earl has promised this, so here's the person that I have to rely on, Mikey D. The real producer of that event the other night.
Did all the setting up, did the sound check, hung the banners.
Earl, you're not answering.
No, Mikey did a great job. He did a great job.
Why don't you send him your check this week and say, I don't feel that I earned this. Mikey, please take this. And buy some Greek whatever.
A check will be cut.
You're really going to cut him a check? Because I know you didn't cut that check that you said you were going to before when you lost the bet to Paul O.
He's still waiting for his money.
Wait, I did send him that money. I sent him the $7.
When?
A while ago.
You bet him 6 months ago. And then Fez caught you 6 weeks ago. And you still said you hadn't sent it. That's when you sent it?
Yeah, I sent him a check a while ago.
So you're going to send Mikey D your entire check for the week?
I'm going to send him some money, yes.
How much?
Couple of hundred.
Huh?
Whoa.
Couple of hundred.
Couple of hundred.
Yeah.
You're going to send Mikey D $200 for working that gig.
No, I'm going to send him more than 200.
How much?
500.
All right, call him on the other line.
Holy shit.
Get a hold of Mikey D.
Earl. Fuck.
He would rather cut a check for 500 than show up and hang up some banners.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that.
And hand out some keychains.
Look at Pitts is furious. Pitts is down there as an intern working for free, and you're sending him 500. So that's how bad you feel.
No, I mean,
I can't say anything now. Now you're a stand-up guy.
All right, I think something's fishy here.
For what?
Because Mikey D is getting a check from XM anyway for $500.
No, I'll send him another $5. I don't know when, but I'll send it to him.
No, you're going to do it right away. It's got to be this week.
I think Earl's trying to put something over on us.
No, he said he's giving him $500 from XM and $500 from himself. He's being a stand-up guy. What about you, Dave? You didn't chip anything?
Mikey, you got $10 on me, pal.
All right, so he's getting $510. $510 coming his way. All right, Earl, you're doing the right thing, so you're off my shit list.
What about my $10, Mr. B?
I'm going to tell you something right now. Oh. If I even look at you, I'm not fucking kidding.
Okay.
After Fez and I had to be standing next to Ant and his chick the other night, when you fucking did that, and I'm going to use a word because there's nothing else to use, act.
All right.
Because I don't know what else to fucking call it.
Was I out of tune? Is that what the problem?
He's out. Get him, Roddy. Oh. Roddy's got him down. Oh! Ah, hit with a chair.
Ow.
Hit with a chair. Boots to him. Boots to him.
Oh.
You know exactly what was wrong with that act. It stunk. Your puppet dripped and no one could hear you.
That was not for what you did the other night. That was for what you fucking just said now. Acting like it doesn't matter.
Oh.
Now stop whining. Act like a gentleman.
Pick up your chair.
All right, there's Mikey D. Mikey D.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having us on Saturday, man. We had a great time.
Thank you for saving the gig.
We did our best. We were there. The whole band was there early. Eastside Dave comes sauntering in around 6:30. And I will admit this, Pitts also helped me with the banners.
Well, that's very, very nice. It's good to hear Pitts doing his job like an intern.
Well, you know, and but we set up the sound, and as far as Dave saying the mic wasn't on, there's a little switch on top of the mic that you just hit that we had to shut off so nothing would feedback during the time that we weren't playing. So
I should have been made aware of this, Will.
Maybe you would have if you would have shown up on time.
You've worked with mics before, right, Dave?
What are you speaking into now?
This is a different kind of mic. See, that's the thing. I never have to press on with this microphone.
These
it's just
microphones
magically
have on and off buttons, you idiot.
This just always magically seems to be on whenever I talk into it. So the other if I those
because Fez clicks it on, it's not magic.
Well, those complex equipment issues should have been brought to my attention before the gig.
All right, Mikey D.
Yes.
Shut up, please, Dave. You're getting $510 sent to you right now by Earl, right?
I thought that's just expenses.
No, he's sending you $500 for expenses and then $510 out of pocket. Is that right, Earl?
500.
510's coming from Dave. Here's what I want you to do, Mikey, and that's your money. I want you to take $260 of that and give it to me.
You got it.
You know why?
Why?
Respect.
That's
I want
fine.
that for respect, and I demand a little taste there.
That's beautiful.
All right, and Pitts, and then after that's done, I want you to get a picture of him handing me $260. And then I'm going to autograph that for you. You take that around Staten Island and show it all your friends.
That'll be your graduation gift.
All right? And you know why I'm getting that $262, Dave?
Why is that?
Because the fucking embarrassment that I suffered. I had to go out and get myself a gas X and a bromo because what I had to sit next to when you were singing.
Again, my apologies for that one.
And Dave, you ruined my chick's jacket.
See, I'm a little hazy about that whole mix-up. I think
maybe that was from the drinking.
And then you know what happens
possible.
at the end? Dave sends me home with the tub. Please bring the tub home.
Oh, yeah.
Mikey D has done everything. You deserve that $260.
Handed it a loadout.
Minus the expenses for the jacket.
Well, he was driving home, so I figured he had the car space available for the tub.
Yeah, Eastside Dave, you should not stop at $10. You need to send him the price for that jacket of his wife's.
How much is the jacket, Mikey?
I say it's about $75.
Oh, fine. I'm not watching cable this month, Mikey.
It's a designer jean jacket, baby.
For $75? When'd you buy it? $76?
Who's to the designer?
What
Stalker
are you
Patty?
doing laughing and having fun? Everybody's
Sorry, no.
annoyed here.
I am. No, I am. I'm very nervous and very serious about
Then
this.
tell your face. Explain to your face. Let me see if you're smirking. What the fuck is that? Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Ronnie's coming around. He's down again.
Again. Oh! Oh! I did really hurt myself there.
He's on the floor one more time. So, Mikey D, I want to hear the moment you get that check.
Okay.
That personal check from Earl Douglas, Bank of Flushing.
Let me tell you something. You're Johnny Cash from this point on, Earl. Because right now, after Eastside Dave, his cash was bouncing the other night. I am not trusting any check from you. Or you, Dave. No Chinese money.
Yeah, that Chinese money. I don't want Chinese money coming my way.
Legal tender. You know what, Mikey?
What's up?
I want to get the $260 from you, so I don't have to worry about all this. That'll be out of my mind. And then it's up to you to chase it down, all right?
No problem. I could do that.
I'd have it by the end of the show, too, because I'm thinking about going out for lunch.
I'll FedEx it.
All right. Talk to you later, buddy.
All right, guys. Thanks again, man.
Hey, you guys did great. The band really did terrific.
Thanks, and and thank you guys for always letting us play. I appreciate it.
All right.
Love you guys.
I'll get you that check, Mikey.
For what, 10? You don't have a check for 10.
I'll up it to 15, Ronnie, if I have to.
All right, then update that. Did I get an extra $250 sent my way? So that's, what, $262?
Yeah, $262.50.
$262.50. I don't want him fucking around on that. I want to get that by the end of the show today. And then he owns you guys, so you got to come up with that money. Earl, you're doing the right thing. Everybody respects you. And Dave, you already owe me $35 today.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on
Don't
that.
get that in the way of Mikey D's stuff.
I'm behind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Be sorry. Be a man. Do the right thing.
I'll get you your money. I'll figure something out.
Figure something out for $35? Borrow it. Now, Bronx Johnny's down there the other night. We're in the Village, Fez. Embarrassed. The man from the Bronx is embarrassed. I'm outside of Kravis smoking. He's going, I'll tell you, boss, I never thought I'd be down here in a million years. I never thought I'd be down here.
Where, in the heart of the village?
Yes. He was humiliated, Fezzy, to be standing in such a place. All right, Johnny, what was your problem the other night?
Nah, just, I was kind of scared. I'd see somebody I knew down there, so I'd run back to my neighborhood. Oh, he was in Fags USA.
Because there are a couple of gay people who live in the village.
Yeah, a couple. Guys are idiots down there. I don't really have a problem with the gays. They're cool, man.
Right. But you were worried what? Someone was going to see that gorgeous cock of yours again? And then you were going to have to take them out?
No, I kind of got scared, with what happened with Vito and the Sopranos and shit. Oh, we saw him talking to a fag.
You thought that you were going to be in a leather bar. That's what you've been thinking all this time.
Nah, I didn't think that. Carabin sounds tough, so I was cool with it.
Wearing a tiny little leather cap off to the side.
Here's John. John, you're on Ron and Fez. John, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, I was just looking at the pictures online, and I saw Bronx Johnny, man. You got some Chinese eyes going there.
All right, let me check with him. Did you smoke a joint before you showed up, Johnny?
Nah, boss, I had work the next day, so couldn't afford to.
Johnny? Did you smoke a joint before you came into Kravis?
Nah, boss, I did it.
All right, I'm going to believe him.
Yeah.
Because you were talking pretty wacky that night. You were talking pretty crazy.
He had stories to tell, that's for sure.
Well, we're not going to put them on the air because we've got to protect your other job.
I hear you.
But all I'd like to say to that organization is someone's running a gossip column out of there. You have hired Cindy Adams to do security for you.
Damn right.
Because he was holding court.
From the clubhouse to the stands, there's a story everywhere coming out of Yankee Stadium.
I hope you're not up Yankee Stadium telling Ron and Fez stories all day. I don't know what you heard today, Mr. Steinbrother. Dave got beat up pretty bad. We do, hold on, somebody wants to say something to Bronx Johnny. Hey, Jimmy, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, boys, hey, listen, Bronx Johnny, that name's gone now because of your little fear there.
Oh.
You're now known as Johnny Cakes.
Bronx Johnny Cakes.
Bronx Johnny Cakes
Oh,
hanging
crap.
out. I love you too, Johnny Cakes. This is why I love David Chase, the writer of Sopranos. He knows who his core audience is, and he's attempting to drive them all away by having gay scenes that really make you wish that you were watching Brokeback. That two guys that you wouldn't even want to see making out with women, making out together. And when Fat Vito had to turn his back for it the other night, and they did the stupid 1958, the next scene is a train going into a tunnel. I think even dopes could pick that one up.
I can't believe how much of the Vito storyline we're getting on The Sopranos. I thought it would be one of those things like with the Russian. You just never saw him again.
All right, 866-RON-0-FEZ, 866-RON-0-FEZ. We got somebody on here that claims to be the master of puppets, the person who stole your puppet, which I believe could be your partner.
No, I work alone. The only partner I have goes by the name of Little Roberto.
You swear that this isn't a bit of yours to try to get on the air?
Swear to God, on the Holy Bible, 3 times over, all the saints, my eyes, and the functioning of my penis, that this is not a bit.
All right, so he claims he's not behind it. Somebody stole Jackie Puppet the other night, and we have got to find out who did it.
Roberto.
Huh?
Roberto. That's his name.
Who?
The puppet?
What'd I call him?
Oh, you said something about Jackie Puppet.
Oh, yeah, it's the first time this act got done. All right, here is, and he did use the code word. All right. Master of Puppets.
Yes, Dave. Ron, how you doing?
Yeah. Where's his theme
no,
music,
I have nothing to do with Dave. I would want nothing to do with Dave.
Okay.
Do you recognize this voice at all, Dave?
No, I don't. Not at all.
How do we know that you have Roberto?
What can I do? I mean, the other name I gave on the email was Evad.
Oh, yeah.
Anti-Dave.
That is right.
Yep.
Dave backwards. Are you using a...
You're the right one, aren't you?
Thank you for cracking the code, Eastside.
Yeah, but did you think of this? If you send a piece of Roberto, we'll know it's really you.
Please don't, Master.
What more damage can I do to this puppet?
Are you using a
cracked?
Are you using a voice disguiser by any chance?
Boy, he certainly knows Roberto. He described him perfect.
Why would I use a voice disguiser, Dave?
I don't know.
All right, what is it that you want from Dave?
Well, Dave just doesn't understand what no payoff, no puppet meant.
Right.
Being a fan of the show, it's just frustrating that he goes into things
It's a bird.
and they go nowhere. He opens his mouth from the start of a sentence to the end. It'll make absolutely no sense.
Right.
Maybe I'm just a higher intelligent creature than you.
That's part. You just made his fucking case. That's
There's
crazy.
Not a chance of that. But with the David Blaine thing, he had a beginning that was incredible. He got the stupid puppet next to David Blaine, took pictures. None of us expected anything like that to happen. Next day, even some more happened. But by the end, it was forgotten. Nothing was done at all. So I just want Dave to do a bit with a payoff, and I would return his puppet. But the bit I had in mind can't do because he slacked off at Karavis and doesn't have the Tupperware. I was going to have him try to hold his breath for 2 minutes, and if he did it, I'd bring in the puppet. But now I got to get more creative.
You mean me?
Yes.
Hold my breath?
Yes, you.
He's trying to get you to do a bit that has a payoff.
I'll gladly do that for Roberto.
Mikey D, has the stuff, so you don't have it.
Because you put your work off on Mikey D yet again.
Oh, I have a tank in here. I have the backup tank. Seriously, I have the backup tank.
Let me see the backup tank.
Pitts is getting it.
Thank God for
Pitts
bits.
is getting it.
Pitts and Mikey D.
Master of Puppets, why take your anger of me out on my little partner, Roberto? That's the one thing that I get confused about.
Is Roberto doing the act on his own?
Part of me thinks so.
All right, Darren, you think you can hold your head underwater that for 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
I'll certainly give him my best shot.
All
yeah.
right.
You have 3 chances. Ron and Fez are the judges if you don't make it.
All right.
Okay, I'll do it.
And I'll call back later.
All right. So there it is. That's coming up a little later on in the show.
Thank you, Master of Puppets.
No problem.
You've got to hold your breath for 2. I think 2.5 minutes sounds even better.
Wait. 2.5?
You don't think you can do it?
2
You're
minutes?
the guy who mocked out David Blaine.
Well,
you and Fez acted like, I expected him to do it. The guy went 7 minutes.
Yeah, but Ron, he had the training of Navy SEALs. I'm just going on this cold turkey, just right off the bat.
You acted like you could get into a time machine and beat Oscar Robertson one-on-one. You made that statement last week.
I could do
You're always
that.
telling us that you're a great athlete.
Yeah, I could definitely take Oscar Robertson.
I guarantee today the Big O could walk in here, stick his head underwater for 2.5 minutes.
Bring him on. Anytime you want me to play Oscar, Johnny has connections. Try and work on Big O, Johnny.
This is the bit that we talk about. Even the master puppets say, your shit doesn't fucking pay off, Earl. You don't follow through.
I'll do my best to email Oscar Robertson,
We know what the ransom
Stop
note means now.
focusing on Oscar Robertson. Okay. Go back on you being able to pull this off.
Okay, I will be able to do this 2 minutes compromise in 15 seconds, because you want 2.5. I'd like 2, maybe 2:15. Is that
Go 2. If
Okay.
you can do 2, I'll be satisfied.
All right, I'll go 2 minutes.
Because, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and argue.
Okay.
I am not going to sit here and argue with you.
2 minutes. Yes, I have it. It will be done today.
All right. Go fill that stuff up with water.
Okay.
We got people coming in here today, right, too, Earl? What time?
We got Mark Echo.
What time?
He's going to be here momentarily. Straight up 1 o'clock. And we also have Jeremy Renner at 2 p.m. talking about his new film, 12 and Holding.
All right, well, it's like a few minutes before 1 o'clock.
I was trying to get him some uncomfortable dead air for that announcement. Who's coming in to talk about his new film?
Jeremy Renner. Actor Jeremy Renner. And he's talking about his new IFC film, 12 and Holding.
Wow. Let's take a break. Ron and Fez Show. Ron and Fez. Hey, Earl, what's Mark coming in to talk about?
Well, he's been spearheading the anti-graffiti law movement that's really sweeping the country right now.
And Mark Echo made all of his money in the fashion business, right? Clothing lines?
Yes, designer, and mainly he's branched out also into sneakers as well. So
I didn't know that.
And he has like this video out now of him tagging the Air Force One as well.
It's not real.
It's a good hoax, though.
For you. All right, Dave, you're ready to go 2 minutes underwater, so you'll get Roberto out?
Yeah. I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
Right now.
Once again, your mic was not turned on. All right, so we're going to go up top of this. Now, you're going to be underwater, so you will get a tap on your shoulder at 1 minute, okay?
Okay.
And then another tap on your shoulder at 2 minutes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is there anything else you need? Bronx Johnny, I want you to watch him to make sure his head doesn't go out of the water.
No problem, boss.
If his face comes out of the water, that's it.
Okay. Do I get 3 chances or just 1?
You're going to get 1 chance
Okay.
first. I'm going to just check on the entertainment value.
Okay.
Now, you and Fez were making fun of the fact that this guy couldn't go 7 minutes after staying in water for a week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fez, any doubt that this kid's going to be able to do 2 minutes?
Complete doubt that he'll be able to do 2 minutes.
So Team Watley has fallen apart on me.
I just don't think he can do 2 minutes.
You may have to join Team Bennington.
Okay.
And I might have to hand Earl over.
A little switcheroo?
Well, I just want to make sure that, we have teams lined up here.
Yeah.
Because right now, your own team leader doesn't believe that you can do it. And he's taking on Crazy Jen. He's Crazy Jen's mentor.
He might be having redhead overload. That's why he needs to unload me. Because too much redheads.
All right, now it's crazy talk. All right, go ahead over. You got 20 seconds to go. I'm going to give you a countdown. Now you're going to get you wouldn't even known about doing that breathing thing if you didn't watch David Blaine the other night. All right, you're at 10 seconds, okay?
All right.
10 seconds right now. You're going to go down in about 6, 5, 4. Remember when you're going to get the taps? 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. He didn't go ahead when I said go ahead, so he's already 4 seconds late into it.
He's in the water.
All right, so we are now... I'm so mad at him for not being able to do this up properly. We're now only about 10 seconds.
Oh, God. Big slurp of water.
Hold on, I ain't getting good.
You went fucking 12 seconds. You went 12 seconds.
No way.
And then
I was in there for like 40.
You went 12 goddamn seconds.
Wait, are you?
I'm kidding you not. I'm telling you the honest to God
I felt
truth.
like I was in there for like 45 seconds.
What was that big gulp of water?
This was the first time today you've given me any joy whatsoever. 12 fucking seconds.
No, that's. I felt like I was in there for a lot longer than that. That's the problem.
That's why we have a clock. You know, everything is relative in this world.
He was like Vito from The Sopranos.
What was difficult about that was that the tank is so low to the ground that I struggled to get in the water. I think now I would have the right approach. If you let me go again, just, I beg of you.
This is going to be... Since you are starting to besiege me, I will let you go. All right, you're 40 seconds out now, okay? You're 40 seconds out. So, now you feel like you need a bigger breath.
Yeah, I need. That was ridiculous breath I took.
If you can beat your own record in 12 seconds, this is Eastside Dave attempting to stay underwater for 2 minutes. So hopefully his puppet is returned to him.
This is what the master of puppets required of him, requested a payoff.
This is the person who stole Eastside Dave's puppet the other night, Jackie Puppet.
I heard that you're not supposed
8
to take
seconds.
Okay, never mind. What I was going to say.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Right, there he is. He is now coming up. 5 seconds. All right, before you know it, he has just beaten his own record.
Amazing.
Of 12 All right, how long did you think you were under that time?
I gotta be in there like 58 seconds.
18 seconds.
Fuck that. You're fucking with me.
I swear to God, look at the clock.
Look at
you were under for 18 seconds.
No, fuck that shit.
Watch.
I swear to God.
I really wanted pictures of the clock or something. That was like 58 seconds, or like a minute 3 or something.
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you.
I got water in my ear.
I'm going to bring Bronx Johnny in to tap you every 10 seconds.
All right, please do that. Please do that.
All right? So, Bronx Johnny, when you hear me say 10, give him a little tap.
Yes, sir.
All right, and then when you're at the 1 minute mark, which you'll never make, he'll slap you with 2 hands. This is your last chance to save Roberto.
The problem I see now is
you.
Is me combined with smoking Marlboro Reds too much.
All right.
Drinking. These things have an effect, and
yet you still think you can play one-on-one basketball.
Well, you don't have to hold your breath playing basketball.
You have to have breath. What are you going to do?
All right, I was thinking a half-court game with the Big O.
All right, it's even at half court, you're going to blow up pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, we're at 25 seconds now. Do this. Right. Go 2 minutes. Beat your 20-second mark.
All right.
Which, by the way, you beat it by 8 seconds. We're all impressed.
So wait. I got the 20. That's what it was.
Yes, 20 seconds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Now you're 10 seconds now. Now remember, he's going to tap your shoulder every 10 seconds. All right, you're 5 seconds down. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, Johnny. Now, wait until I give you the 10 to let him tap. You're still 4 seconds away. And give him a tap. All right, that's good. Now he's coming up to 15 seconds. there's the no more. You want 20 fucking seconds.
No, he just spit a bunch of that tub water out.
Yeah, you want 20 seconds.
I don't believe you almost.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
You know, another problem is with my head upside down.
That may be.
The pressure is screwing me up.
Right, but the truth is, you're supposed to go 2 minutes. You don't get your puppet back.
No payoff.
20 plus 20 is 12. What if I just accumulate 2 minutes?
Because then that would make the worst radio ever. And do me a favor.
And can take all day.
Do something about your squiggy hair, because it's driving me crazy. You got a little squiggy hook hanging down there. It just makes me sick.
Oh, master of puppets.
Start talking, and then I'm going to go look at some other stuff here.
Okay. Tonight, President Bush is holding a press conference. Not a press conference. He'll be addressing the nation on immigration and stuff. And so what he's supposed to say is that...
You know what? Here's the thing about it that is so bizarre, too. Oprah no longer will be doing her Legends Party. The Legends Party is not going down tonight, and women all over the country are mad at the president. He is going to do this, I guess, what is it, 8 o'clock tonight? 8, 9 o'clock? Yeah, so her Legends show will come on next week, and he will do it tonight. So, bad night for Monday night viewers, particularly the women who wanted to see all the legends show up back and forth.
So, on NBC, we're losing part of the 2-hour deal, no deal. There was supposed to be 2 hours. They're going to just edit that down now to an hour and a half, deal or no deal.
They could do that every night, let's face it. The one thing that we don't need is more deal or no deal. It's on every night, isn't it?
3 nights a week.
Hey, did I get any of my papers here today, Fez?
Yeah.
I don't know where they are. I think with all the running around and brouhaha and swinging and Dave, everything went crazy.
I think when Dave got attacked, maybe everything went flying.
Oh, yeah, it did. There it is. All right, Mark Echo is coming in to do the show. Is he here now, Earl? Yeah. And Mark Echo, of course, entrepreneur, known for his clothing and fashion lines. Now, we wanted to get him on the show to talk about some of the stuff that was going on between him and Bloomberg. And I guess other cities, Las Vegas is involved in this as well?
Yeah, there's a couple of cities across the nation that are really kind of spearheading this effort to curb graffiti.
I think Miami in particular, too.
Now, have the laws got out, or are they not constitutional? Earl, do you know?
That's still being up in the courts right now.
All right, so let's bring Mark Echo in, and we'll talk about this. I also want him to talk about some of the concerts he's promoting coming up and all, but overall, it's a lot of the graffiti stuff. Here's Mark Echo. Nice to see you, buddy. Welcome to the Ron and Fez show. I'm Ron, there's Fez.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up, guys?
You can check out some of Mark Echo's products. Of course, they're in retail stores everywhere and available online at markechoenterprises.com.
Yes.
Mark, tell us what's going on between the graffiti stuff that you've been doing with. Is this a number of the mayors? I hadn't heard about the New York one, but now I guess it started up in Las Vegas as well.
Yeah, it's actually it all kind of started with this Air Force One thing I did.
That was the video that went out that was kind of a commercial, was just done online.
It was just an online thing. It was like a viral online thing, and I wanted to do something really disruptive. And it was all kind of correlating to a larger initiative, just kind of call shit on politicians, some of their rhetoric, some of the kind of anti-graffiti legislation around the country, namely here in Manhattan, and there's some things going on in the rest of the country, as you mentioned, Vegas, and Miami and other parts.
Well, tell me what they wanted to do. We'll just focus on New York first.
Yeah.
What exactly is a law they're trying to pass, or is it already passed?
There's a law that passed that's been in effect for about 4 months now, and it was basically started by Peter Vallone, councilman from Queens, and he legislated it, I guess, before he ran for this last go-round. And the basic gist of the law criminalizes the possession of aerosol paint and broad tip markers. So anyone between the ages of 18 and 21, below, even though you're an adult at that age, you could just the mere fact of possessing, you could get arrested. And you can't buy it without an adult's consent, et cetera, et cetera. And when you just compare other cities, it just seemed a little bit silly. It's just really cosmetic law that really, when you looked at the data, all the quantitative data coming, that's out there, that age demographic in the arrests in the city was actually going down before that law was even put into order. So just, we sought to overturn it and went to a federal court and managed to do so. And now the city is appealing it.
Well, I mean, it's a kind of a bizarre thing because no matter what you say, it's not controlled substance, right? It's just pens and it's paint cans, and people could be artists working on canvas at home, whatever they want to do. Is it just also a reason to bust kids that are out at night, or?
I think, the law, politicians like to talk about broken glass and graffiti as a sign of, like, communities in disarray. And it's just a really tidy thing. Pull the David Copperfield, ooh, look, wall with paint, watch this. Wall with no paint, and that's what your taxpayer money did. When in fact the reasons that stuff goes down is more, it's much more systemic, and it's harder to talk about and to legislate around. So it's virtually impossible to legislate around, any kind of antisocial or disruptive behavior. And for me, graffiti is the byproduct of 80s hip hop culture, early 80s, coming out of Philadelphia and Manhattan, the subway scenes. And really, what it's become like hip hop art, if you will. And if you want to just debate it from a mainstream point of view, there's this, this whole, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and politicians kind of, preemptively creating laws and preemptively censoring this motif, even when it's legal, or saying it's garbage, even when it's legal. To me, isn't what this amazing thing graffiti was for me in my life. To kind of just throw it away like that and be dismissive about it is, it isn't. I'm going to call shit on them because it's not, it's not connecting and building bridges within a community.
Well, I'm trying to think of, I'm trying to come up with names of graffiti artists. Basquiat comes to mind first. They kind of went into the mainstream after that, but there's been a lot of others.
Oh, tons of guys. I mean, tons of guys out there that have either, that have revealed their art, legitimately in the fine art community, through sculpture, painting, print, through animation, motion graphics, through film. There's a lot of cats out there doing it right now.
But at the same time, I mean, you wouldn't want somebody to do this on your house.
No, right. And that's why even when I was arm wrestling with New York, I definitely made a clear distinction. I have no problem with anti-vandalism laws. In fact, the laws that are currently the state laws that, criminalize the act of doing, actually vandalizing someone's property, doing something disruptive without the property owner's consent, I'm cool with. There's no gray here. The distinction that I'm trying to make is these make-believe laws that you could kind of go out there and, run for office and, see, look at this law I put into effect, and you really in effect aren't doing anything quantifiably different in terms of stopping vandalism. All you're doing is creating more of a culture of cat and mouse between those that are going to go out there and do it and, those that are trying to legitimately do it.
Well, it is kind of an interesting thing that you brought up, too, because most of the time I think that the politicians on both sides are playing certain issues into our head that really aren't all that important. And the president is going to go on TV tonight and talk about sending 10,000 people down to protect the border. And the truth is, you're not going to protect that border if you wanted to with 10,000 people. Right. But a lot of that stuff you think is just done to pacify us.
I think, and I think we as Americans take the bait. We allow it to pacify us.
Right.
And, when I think about the artist community, I think about when I think about hip hop, and when I fell in love with it, you know, in you know, as an adolescent, you know, in the early 80s, mid 80s. You know, I think about, you know, if it was Public Enemy or Jungle Brothers or artists like that, where so much of my consciousness was kind of shaped by the things that they were saying, kind of turning me on to. And even now, when I geek out on like the Beatles, let's say,
right,
and you know, you go back to, you know, I obviously wasn't even born when they were, you know, coming up, but I still appreciate what their art spoke about and how they reflected on the times. And today we're like the artist community is so like, I don't know, just like disengaged. You know, they're definitely taking up causes around, you know, that are kind of like across the ocean. But when you really think about like just what's going on in this country, our own consciousness, our own lack of understanding of how the system works. I meet young people all the time. They just don't even understand how laws are even put into effect.
So you're kind of disappointed with the artists, no matter what form that we have in this country, of not being involved in. And let me ask you this, because you're in marketing and you're got your own corporations now. Is it because it seems like the artists come up and the first thing they want to do is hook up with corporations? And some of them, I mean, when you're selling Pepsi, you cannot also start to say, here's the thing in society that I want changed.
Yeah, or maybe, you know, for those big publicly held companies that have those kind of limitations, or maybe there's that that kind of, you know, people are just looking for the payday, and that maybe for some young artists that are trying to come up, maybe pacifies. You know, honestly, I don't know. I can't even, you know, riff on. All I know that for me, you know, there was something that awoke in me when, you know, last year I was trying to do an event here in New York, and the mayor. It was an event where we were going to have a live exhibition of painting graffiti. That was already, you know, passed by the 10th precinct, and, you know, we had the permits in hand. And when the city revoked the permit, saying that because we're painting graffiti, we're up to no good, and it'd be like a public display of a pickpocket. You know, it was the first time in my career, professionally, personally, that I ever was told, you know, no, you can't do something, despite, you know, what I thought I could do being an American. So it was really disorienting for me, and it's a shame that it took that to happen to me, to kind of awaken that in me. But I don't know that if it's the artists wanting to make money, that, you know, or them wanting to hook up with the big corporation that keeps them kind of passive. I just think that we're just all asleep.
I mean, if there was any time for us to be awake, it would be now, though, right?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, some of the old guys that you mentioned are speaking out. Neil Young's doing stuff, and it's really not the people that you would necessarily expect.
Yeah.
I mean, the colleges, you couldn't get any quieter than the college scene right now. I mean, this is your market. Why do you think that is? What is everybody up to?
I just think there's just too much of you know, I don't. It's just like, I guess it's the byproduct of, you know, when you take in inventory of what, you know, the 80s were, in terms of the boom of media culture, the micro niching of culture, you know, be it cable or satellite radio or the internet. There's just so many specific options out there for all of us to kind of to pacify us.
Right.
That it's not like back when, you know, you came up before that, when there was, you know, I remember growing up, by the time I graduated high school in 1990, when I started high school, there were like 14 channels I had access to. And then when the cable truck arrived, it was like the future arrived, you know, and then by the time I graduated high school, there was something like 55. I remember 44 was Playboy, but it was always like squiggle Playboy. You know, maybe there's something to be said in that there's so many options out there that we're just so distracted by living our own lives. We're so disrupted by being content, you know, that maybe that's a generational dysfunction. And there's not like that, you know, back in the day when you just had, you know, a more narrow bandwidth to get a message to people. It's harder today.
And like, as soon as one message comes out, the anti-messages to that come out completely.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you started doing your stuff, blogs would come out that this
it's
is why Echo's bullshit, blah, 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 as soon as it's happening.
Yeah, it's real time.
You know?
It's real time.
So now, for the young people especially, that they have no idea what is CNN and what is just a guy in his bedroom with a blog. There's no way to know because you're getting 100 messages.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to just, especially how all the search engines work and reports and stuff.
But I'm interested in you've got all these businesses. You're doing well. Why don't you just keep your head down? Why are you trying to shake stuff up still? I mean,
I just think I have to. You know, like I take an inventory as I get older, and just because I've crossed I entered into another phase of my career where I've kind of gained success, and I have I've got a nice lifestyle. That doesn't mean that I should become there's no excuse. It's almost like I have to, when I take an inventory and I think of how good this has been for me and to me as a career opportunity. If I'm not out there advocating, who will? I'm privately held. I don't have to work for anyone. I don't have to worry about my boss telling me to be quiet, or some big label, or some big manufacturing company to be quiet. So I kind of feel like I'm obligated to, especially when so many young people reached out to me after the fiasco last summer with the city. It was kind of like, I equate it to, if Chase Manhattan can advocate for like opera in the park, or if Procter & Gamble owns Pampers and they go and do all of this fundraising and advocacy for parenting, and then I have to be someone to kind of quiet, the static when people just want to, say all graffiti's bad, and, there's enough demonization of urban culture out there, with all these big media outlets, that someone's got to speak up, and so many artists are afraid to, because they don't want to, maybe they'll sell less records, they'll become less appealing,
All it takes is for somebody not to play them. I mean, look at somebody in the country field, the Dixie Chicks. You could not get any bigger than what they were. That chick said one thing. 3 years later, they still are having trouble getting their stuff played. And those are people that already made it. They had their fuck you money. A lot of these kids coming up, they're not there yet.
So maybe this topic though is something that, I mean, that particular topic post 9/11, the war, everything. I mean, that was some really touchy shit, and even now you go retrospect, and today where we are, that's like that kind of discussion or debate is out there. Like now it's commonplace today. The tables have turned in terms of that public opinion.
It's always timing, isn't it the funny thing? It always really comes down to timing.
Mark Echo's in studio with us. He's the founder of Echo Unlimited, talking about anti-graffiti laws across the country. You can check out what's going on with Mark at markechoenterprises.com.
Now, a lot of people have called. They want to talk to you, but I want to just take a couple more moments before we get into that and just say, what is it exactly that you would like to see happen?
Basically, what I'd like to see happen is create a debate, discussion, try to create a more of a fertile ground for more preventative discussion. In the case of, let's say, Las Vegas, when Mayor Goodman says, I'm going to cut off graffiti artists' thumbs and we should bring back, we should have caning. He just did it to get a headline, and no one will call shit on him. In that kind of case, that's an example of the kind of divisive language between disenfranchised communities and politicians, and that's not that doesn't build bridges, it doesn't connect. There's programs like this program in Philadelphia called MAP. That's this big mural program. Philadelphia is now the city of murals, like 5,000 murals out there, and they could, with quantitative analysis, can show you how graffiti and illegal vandalism, the illegal aspect of it, has gone down. So there are cases and programs around the country that are better than legislations like in Miami, where if you even just have graffiti on your walls, and even if you own the property, you're going to get fined for that. They fine the landowner. In the case of my business partner, who owns 3 acres out there in Miami Beach in a very affluent area, he's developing the property, right? And he tells me like a few months ago, I've been paying fines for this graffiti. So I said, if you wanted to paint a mural on your property that was a graffiti motif, they would fine you, even if you legally as an American wanted to do it. So there's this kind of like just like I said, throwing the baby away with the bathwater. You know, you have to be able to make the distinction. It's almost like saying, you know what, 50 Cent, you know, rhymes about, you know, drugs and getting shot and blah, blah, blah. Let's create a law that below the age of 18 won't allow these kids to articulate on maybe some of the things they're seeing in their community, maybe yes, and ironically tension, some of the things they're getting marketed to them. Let's make it a law where they can't do that, you know? Just as a silliness to it. And it's almost it discriminates across, you know, class lines, and you know, it's kind of putting it out there. So people, when you're walking the aisles of Walmart or you're watching Comedy Central or ESPN, you're seeing all the motion graphics of graffiti. Graffiti is something that is constantly used as a device by large corporations, Fortune 500 companies, to speak to young people. You know, but there's not that like that under. If it's okay to do that, it's okay to utilize to kind of market to, but it's not okay to learn about it if you wanted to learn about it credibly. A lot like the 7 plaintiffs that, you know, I funded here in New York, where these are kids that are going to SVA that are good kids, you know, that contrary to popular opinion, just because they carry a black book, you know, where they keep maybe their graffiti tags in, right? And they carry a broad tip marker, doesn't mean that they've done anything illegal. And in the cases of these kids, they hadn't.
Are they looking to lock some of these kids up for graffiti now, or is it still fines?
You know, it's funny because this new law, which managed to get headlines, there's not even one arrest on the books. So there's a lot of, like I said, it's just very cosmetic. It gives people a false sense that, you know, that this legislation's actually doing something. When in fact, in the case of New York, the 18 to 21, I mentioned this earlier, the 18 to 21 age range actually had graffiti arrests went down over the last 4 years. Meanwhile, the 21 and over went up.
Right.
So what good did your law do there? You know, it's just, and the judge saw it that way as well, and obviously overturned it.
Well, you know, when you say pacify too, because if there's any kind of shooting, if it's black kids, hip-hop lyrics are going to be brought up. If it's white kids, it's going to be heavy metal stuff. And they feed it back as if... But it's not like they're trying to really shut it down. They're just really trying to... I think...
Blame the babysitter.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. All right, some folks want to talk to you. Here's Jeff from Chicago. Jeff, you're on with Mark Echo.
Yes, sir. I've been listening to you. I disagree with your take on the graffiti in the urban areas. Living in an urban area myself, you know, people try to build things in urban areas. I understand you said about the private property that you make a distinction, but the problem is the kids don't make a distinction. They see your art, or they see the glamorization of graffiti, and then they go out, and a lot of it's gang-oriented stuff. And in these urban areas, you know, we're truck drivers. We leave our trailer someplace, come back, and it's covered with somebody else's art. Well, it's not art to us. It's our private property that's being destroyed because somebody else's disregard for it.
Right.
And that's a disconnect that seems to apply more in the urban area than anywhere else. And I think that unless that personal responsibility can be drummed into these people that live primarily in the urban areas, you're not going to get anybody to take your side on this graffiti issue. And I have personally been a victim of this. I know many people have. And, I mean, you'd have a lot more allies in this debate if, number one, the respect for private property was your first message.
All right, let's give him a chance to answer, okay?
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks for calling, buddy.
Thanks, Jeff. Actually, I think I've been very clear on this. I don't make there's no gray. As I said before, you know, if someone's property, in the case of Jeff, if his truck or whatever gets tagged, and he didn't give him permission, that's just not cool. And I make a very clear distinction. I go around speaking to young people all the time about that. I think what the case is where he was talking about the notion of the way he was talking. These issues are much more systemic. Why a kid would go do that is exactly is exactly why I'm trying to call shit on politicians, because rather than trying to create, if you look at like after school arts programs, if you look at real solutions for these kids with hours, within their communities, you see that the arts programs have been slashed and cut and burned and trapped, and there needs to be more voices out there saying to them, hey, look, it's cool that you're into, for a lot of these kids, like to admit that they're being an artist at a young age is kind of corny. Like for them at 14 years old, maybe it's feminine to concede that I'm into art. Meanwhile, they use graffiti as this way to kind of give them this false sense of like machismo or something. And they eventually cross a bridge where, they really are artists and they're cool with that. Right. And they hopefully for a good portion of these kids, they give up on doing the illegal aspect and they try to pursue it credibly. If there are enough voices out there, counter voices, programs to allow these kids at a younger age to explore this legally, like what they did with skate parks. Sure. Then the kids, it would demystify the need to go around and be disruptive. Now, as far as it goes, Jeff pointed out like gangs and and the such. Those issues that they're so much more systemic why those kids go ahead and do that. It's not because I'm printing up T-shirts that those kids want to go and be disruptive to his property. Those kids need love. They need, they need parenting. They need community. And those should be the things that we focus on legislating around, rather than just like it only happens in the urban areas and it's all crap and let's just try to lock them up. All you're doing is sweeping the dirt under the rug, giving yourself a false sense that everything's okay.
So you're saying all this stuff is symptoms. Somebody's going out destroying public property with just graffiti. It's because they're saying I've got no other place to be heard unless do this.
It's that coupled with the unfortunate the way it's been legislated. It's almost this cat and mouse. It's like let's stay with an antagonistic perspective on this thing, and then it's like the bait for them to perpetuate this whole cat and mouse culture between the law enforcement and those that are going to break the law.
All right, here is Barney. Barney, you're on Ron and Fez. How are you, buddy?
Hey, buddies.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask Mark. He came out with the game that Mark echoed getting up, and it showed the depictions of the graffitis going everywhere. So I understand where he's coming from, but it's kind of glorifying the whole graffiti lifestyle.
Now there was even some talk about outlawing your game, right?
Yeah, it actually got outlawed in like Australia or whatever. There's a lot of people they can't keep it off the shelves here in this country. Look, I'm a kid from Lakewood, New Jersey, grew up a couple hours out of Manhattan, all right? I grew up in the 80s at a time when hip-hop was something you had to go find. It didn't find you. And graffiti for me was an invitation to hip-hop culture. I was this white kid in a community amongst black and Latino kids. And, in 5th or 6th grade, I got a book called Subway Art. Okay, and I stopped tracing Marvel Comics and Conan and Spider-Man. I started tracing Don D and Futura and Lee and all these writers. And for me, I fell in love with the motif. Right. I've been in the business some way, shape, or the other for the last 14 years of creating the motif of graffiti art. Either through fashion or, through publishing, whatever, through the video game. So the video game is actually a story that I wrote, 8 years ago. And if you dig a few inches below the surface, you see it's like this urban Braveheart story. Yeah, you could go around as this character did, but with a spray can, but not once did the character hold a gun. Right, and it's entertainment. What I was creating was entertainment, but it's okay to create a game called like Call of Duty where you could carry an M16 or an M4, and learn how to take boom headshot, take someone out from a sniper's distance, even from a rifle. It's cool to go around and have video games you could crash up the streets and drive recklessly. That's entertainment. Let's stay on topic here. What I did was I've been that guy that has managed to be able to create these kind of products. This is the content this is what I was coming from. This is what I grew out of. So it's very natural for me and organic for me to have made that product. But I don't think you can so easily connect the dots. That's even more of a reason for me to advocate.
It's interesting too. I mean, like it seems like the whole hip hop culture savior for a kid. You chased your passion, and one of the things that you worry about is some of these kids don't even realize that the passions that they have, some of this art, they could go after. They don't, because of the circumstances they're in, they don't know that world's open to them. They could end up taking that same art, working in computers or whatever, marketing business.
Now is such a critical time, man.
Yeah.
It's like the success and failure, the haves and have-nots will be defined by, access to technology, access to understanding what you could do with your skill sets. When I graduated high school in 1990, my guidance counselors, despite being really good at art, and, I'd been hustling with an airbrush and custom making t-shirts from, my freshman year of high school, sophomore year of high school through my graduation. Despite doing that, and showing entrepreneurial tendencies, I was advised against, hey, do you really think you could feed mouths?
Absolutely.
Painting T-shirts. Like. That's what I got. And today, that was at a time before the desktop publishing boom, 1990, before a copy of Photoshop, a copy of Quark Express, Adobe Illustrator. It was all an abstraction. It wasn't even my academic advisors' fault. They just generationally, they were as disconnected as I was. Today, though, there's so many more opportunities for young kids in urban areas. You don't just have to be a basketball player, all the mythology around that. You don't just have to aspire to be a graffiti artist. You could get into fashion. You could get into animation. Technology has really democratized who could, look at YouTube, look at, what's going on the internet. It's really democratized the distance between the producer and the consumer. And there just needs to be more, more voices out there that say, hey, take your energy, take your passion, instead of being disruptive and getting up on Jeff's, truck, take that energy and do something useful and purposeful with your life.
What's interesting is, like, you're kind of a controversial figure, and yet your stuff is real. You can do it. It's a real positive message that you're doing that, again, I don't see the big corporations or the governments coming to the kids with this. It does seem it's still the follow your bliss message that I don't think that they're getting right now.
Yeah.
I would love to see them pick up on it. And I do agree with you. I mean that in our school system, if we figure out if kids really like something, and even if it seems silly, like it's the comic book business, or if it is basketball. If you follow that, so many doors open up another door down the way if you keep the passion.
Yep. Even if you don't get to finally realize Dream X, you're gonna but just by staying on that track, something positive is gonna open up. There's no question about it.
Mark Echo's here with us, founder of Echo Unlimited Clothing Brands. You can check out what's going on with him on markechoenterprises.com or at another website, stillfree.com.
All right, a lot of calls for you. You got time to take some of these, Mark?
Yeah, I'll take a couple.
All right, here's Lou. Lou, you're on Ron and Fez. Say hi to Mark Echo.
Hey, Mark, I wanted to thank you, first of all. I'm a bigger guy, and your clothes, I really enjoy your clothes. They really fit me. They fit me comfortably.
Cool.
I wanted to thank you for that.
Cool, man.
I wanted to ask you, do you remember a game called Jet Set Radio Future?
Sure. Yep, for Sega.
Well,
Dreamcast.
Did you bring that up at all when people were criminalizing your game and demonizing it? There was a game that came out a couple of years ago that basically was very graffiti-based as well.
Yeah, there was a game, I never really used it as a counter-argument because I never saw the two, really related, but it is a good point. There was a game that was out for Sega Dreamcast, which was a long-gone system. It was actually a great system, but lost to Xbox and PlayStation 2. And then eventually became a launch title for, I believe, for Xbox. It was a big push title, and it was a game that was developed by a Japanese developer that had was a very heavy graffiti gameplay component. And because it was more of a cartoon, it was done with a more cartoon aesthetic. It just never.
It was cel-shaded, right?
It was like a cel-shaded look. I think that was probably one of the reasons that it never felt prey to criticism, despite it being, I believe, its last version was M-rated as well. So
now it's not the parents that had problems with your games, though. It was more of the government stuff.
It was, politicians looking for headlines. I mean, there was an interesting window of about 6 weeks between like Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton, Peter Vallone. It's almost like they had like a brunch or something.
Right.
Like, all right, you take the driving game. You take the one with the with the GTA. You take the graffiti one. You take the and there's almost like this real concerted effort by ironically the Democratic Party really coming out anti-games and just trying to get headlines out of it.
Yeah, sometimes it seems to me that the Democrats want to act like, well, we have our core people, so we'll take some shots at them every once in a while. So hopefully we pick up some Republicans.
It was maybe they figure it's a centrist point of view,
right?
Family values and blah 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 blah. But every generation, and I don't want to be dismissive about that. I have kids, and there's things that are appropriate and not appropriate for them. As as a parent, I know that. But every generation has this disconnect when a new technology converges on art. It happened with the printing press. It happened when Elvis shook his hips, and it was nothing new with gaming. It's always this, the disconnect between like the consumer who's actually playing it and understands it's just entertainment, and the outsider who's like on a pulpit, scared of it, ready to run a bulldozer over discs.
All right, here is Chris. Chris, you're on with Mark Gecko.
Hey, how you doing? I'm calling up here in Connecticut. I'm actually sitting down here in Thing City, which is a legal wall in Bridgeport, Connecticut right now.
Cool.
I'm taking my break from work.
Cool.
And I definitely support what you do, and also, because I'm a big man, and you guys are the only clothes a big man can fit into. Definitely look good at the same time.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, thanks,
Definitely.
Chris.
Thanks,
Here's Corey. Corey, you're on with Mark Gecko.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, buddy.
Mark, listen, I got a question for you. How do you feel about, as far as like being hypocritical with trying to put out a message saying, don't touch other people's properties, have respect for other people's private property, when you have a video of you tagging Air Force One with somebody else?
I don't think it's being hypocritical. It actually created a great jumping off point, or a speaking point to kind of get people's attentions. I mean, because something like that could never happen. It was people wanted to believe that because they wanted to believe it, and it was really kind of created like I said, a pulpit to kind of discuss the larger issues. And at the end of the day, that was entertainment. It took me renting a 747 and painting, the side of it. I mean, if you want to do that, that's a pretty major production. And I was looking for a symbol that would definitely get some noise, and I think all the pieces aligned.
So you put that out on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever hear back from...
No, I've heard there have been statements made to the press by... the Pentagon, by the CIA and the FBI, all saying that it's obviously not real. The funniest one was the Pentagon saying all the long shots, like the long distance shots, were real, but the close-ups were fake because it would be the plane's much shinier than that. When in fact every inch of the thing was all fake. I mean, those, the guys that, the soldiers were actors, the dogs were rented.
But when you guys put this bit together, you had to think, well, this,
well, I had
security service might show up here.
No, I had done my due diligence. Obviously I got a lot to lose if I were to go out there and be really disruptive. I would have never put a disclaimer on it. The minute it was released, it had a disclaimer on the site. So the minute it was put out there, and it's kind of interesting kind of study on, just media culture today. Everyone's waiting for the shoe to drop. We live, I could be feeding my daughter, at 8 o'clock in the morning, she's not even 4 years old, and I've got CNN or Fox on or whatever, and she can't distinguish what the hell they're saying, but man, she knows when bad news comes on TV.
She can feel it.
It's like you could feel it. And culturally, it's like every other report is kind of that. The big headlines, the big splashes, the yellow alerts, the breaking news, even when it's like the smallest seamless thing. We're all living a media culture or waiting for the shoe to drop. I think that one was just like highlighting, what I did in making that video was creating what someone like a Peter Verlone says was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, money. Like a video game's going to make a kid go do that. Let's go.
All right, Mark, thanks so much for coming in. You got anything you want to promote?
We have this great event. Thank you for asking me, coming up on June 8th. Here in New York in Central Park at the Summer Stage. I do it every year. Last year was my first one. It's an event for Save the Rhinos and the International Rhino Federation. Last year we raised $150,000. It's a concert. Last year was The Roots and MF Doom and De La. And this year it is Common, Rakim, DJ Z-Trip, Lupe Fiasco, Rhyme Fest, Central Park, June 8th. And Ticketmaster has all the information on the tickets. It's a great event. If you just want to see some old school hip hop, love fest, out under the sun, feel good thing, 5,000 people, it's a great event. It's a evening thing, but it's really, really great, and we'll probably raise, God willing, a couple $100,000 this year.
Thanks so much for coming in, Mark
Thank
Echo.
You. Peace.
We'll take
Thanks,
a break
guys.
here. Ron and Fez. Fez show. Mark Echo was just in here. What did you think of him, Earl? You booked him.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought he was a very interesting guy, and I thought he's had some neat things to say. Now, I forgot to tell you this. I'm still getting hate mail from your guest the other day.
Kevin Keating?
Yeah, Kevin Keating, who, even though I didn't agree with everything that he had to say, I'm not sure I agree with everything that Mark Echo has to say, but I like the fact that there's some people out there doing stuff.
Yeah, and it didn't degenerate into a screaming match with anyone. Everyone, had room to express themselves.
Yeah.
Keating has the film Giuliani Time, the documentary about Rudy Giuliani when he was mayor.
Which some people now are like, do not say anything about Rudy Giuliani. The man is a saint. But watching that the other day, I did forget. Oh, yeah, we used to be pissed off at him all the time. Mikey D has just walked in. How you doing, Mikey?
How you doing, Ronnie? How you doing, Fezzy?
Hey, Mikey.
You remember Mikey D, right?
From the band Crankcase, I believe.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Well, Crankshaft, they're now calling themselves.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
I wish you'd go back to Sparkle Motion, but that's me. Great job the other night. You remember the Giuliani days would get all ugly, right?
Absolutely. I mean, he did a lot to, just break down the business that I'm in, the strip club stuff.
That's true.
That was amazing.
He drove that way underground,
Yep.
and to the fact where, sex became bad after a while.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. And, it was a good thing that he cleaned up 42nd Street, but in the process...
You got to have a little place.
Yeah, you got to have a couple of places
here
and there.
A little wiggle room, and
That's
then in
all.
the meantime, you find out he's banging them two at a time. That's the funny thing about all these guys. No matter what they preach, you still find out they got to get a little on the side, too.
Yeah, they rezoned all the strip clubs to basically where they had to be, they practically put them on the, train tracks or abandoned right off the pier, an empty pier.
This should just make them just being a barge. Just out in a barge like the old boxing days. Mikey D, I noticed this also when you were leading your band the other night. You still did all the stuff. You're tying everything together, even though Winnie Cooper picked on you a little bit.
Yeah, Tits McGee.
No, Winnie Cooper.
Oh, I'm sorry, Winnie Cooper.
Oh, Winnie Cooper.
It's Winnie Cooper?
Tits McGee is a dumb name from the past. She's Winnie Cooper. That's the right name.
I had to do it. That's my style. That's the way I do my showmanship when I
Well, one of them, I noticed that you did the exact same line when I saw you 3 years ago.
Which one was that?
I think it's when you did L.A. Woman, but when she's in New York, she's like a dirty bitch or something.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going, wait a minute, why does that sound familiar? He did that line. So it was like seeing a play for me.
I did add something in the beginning that she wasn't from San Francisco
right.
or Burbank.
Yeah, but still, same punchline.
Yeah.
Now, I understand there was some problems with the bass the other night. Earl got there early and tried to have sex with Jersey Rich's bass.
No.
He picks up the bass and just hitting it. I mean, not playing it.
I know how to handle a bass. I was handling it with tender, loving care. It was a beautiful, I think it's a Fender bass.
But it's not yours.
Did you ask if you could?
I don't remember if I
No,
did.
he just picked it up.
I'm looking over to Eastside Dave, and he's shaking his head, no.
Nope. Richard said he absolutely did not ask, and Richard was just saying, "What the fuck's going on here?"
So this is interesting. Where now all of a sudden Earl acts like he's going to give you $510.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to pay you off your $262.50.
All right, yeah, $262.50.
Got the check right here.
This is in motion here.
Yeah,
you know, you wanted
motion.
Yeah. Write that check out,
to cash?
Yes, to cash. Last thing I want is any... you know, I'm a little even uncomfortable with the fact that there's any record of this whatsoever. Because I try to deal in cash all the time.
All right, let me see.
So that'll be for Ronnie's cut, and then Earl will owe you $500.
Yeah.
Plus expenses.
Plus expenses.
Plus the expenses.
So you're up to over a G-Bo right now, Earl.
Over $1,000.
You're comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with it.
Wow. All right. We'll see when I get it.
Anything but work, huh, bro? Anything but do work.
No, if the service was not up to satisfaction, I don't have no problem bringing up some money.
There was no service.
No, if it was not up to satisfaction.
I want to start and do that on a daily basis, where if I feel like you guys don't have a good show, I want you to pay me back.
That sounds fair.
I think it is.
That does sound fair.
Fair to you, Fezzy?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Beauty.
I mean, the band was there. We were there.
Oh, God. Great.
5 o'clock. We were setting up everything.
Then you did the loadout by yourself, which I couldn't believe.
Oh, yeah.
The drummer always has the difficult part, too. No one ever helps the drummer, I notice.
You know, it was a lot easier because it wasn't the acoustic drums. I played with electronics that night. And that was practical. You know, it was a practical thing.
But still, you get stuck with
this, 80? 1980 music?
I needed it because I wanted to save room. I was thinking about the whole venue, you know, so I wanted to save room.
What about the broads that were on that thing? Who were the two at the end?
I don't know.
Frenchie started molesting.
They
came out of nowhere.
We were doing some sound checks, and the girls must have been upstairs. Some girls ran downstairs and was, loving it, man.
Jesus.
And I'm just getting. I know Fezzy arrived, and there was some girl that wanted to take my picture and all that stuff, and I said, sure, hot blonde, beautiful.
What happened? Did you take her home?
Try to get her number.
Who got in? Who got Frenchie? Anybody?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know everybody threw a hook in. I think everybody's coming up with nothing.
Speaking of beautiful women, have you seen the gator attacks in Florida? The 3 women in a week.
All beautiful?
Killed by gators.
But you're saying they're all beautiful?
The 2 pictures I've seen. I have to wait and see the 3rd victim. Gators are killing beautiful women in Florida.
I want to see the pictures. Get this for me.
Okay, I saw it flash by on the news.
First of all, I cannot believe that we're in a case, it's 2006, 3 people can be killed in the United States in 1 week by gators.
And it's not like there's a rogue gator loose. One was in Lauderdale, one in St. Petersburg, one in Gainesville.
What makes you think this gator ain't moving around?
And the last one was a teenager, a girl, like a 14, 15-year-old girl or something like that.
Bizarre. Just wacky. I do not understand why Florida puts up with this. Now, I remember the 1980s. They used to go out of their way to act like, if this goes on like this, by 1994, we'll have no gators. Well, maybe we would have fucking been better off getting rid of those suitcases with teeth.
I think the state is just so dry now because the state's on fire, too, that the swamps are drying up. The gators are on land and eating beautiful women.
How does a gator catch you, though? They seem to me like they walk slow. I've seen them out there, and they don't seem like I've ever seen one in a hurry.
Yeah, because I don't think any of these have been in the water.
No.
They've been, off of jogging paths and stuff.
They wait in the swamp, they wait in the grass.
A gator on dry land can beat an adult in a fight. Because I feel like I could beat one.
I think what it has to do is probably get its initial bite in, and then the girl is so stunned and can't get away that then they get eaten.
And that jaw just clamps down, man.
Yeah, I know. That's true. I mean, it's like stepping in a bear trap. I understand that. And I don't want to blame the victims. I'm not Kevin Keating from the other day, blaming the victims for wearing gold. What do you got there, Fez? You got pics?
No, I can't find the pics. All I can find is the story. I saw the pictures up on the CNN TV news.
No, I do want to see that now. I don't know why the state of Florida puts up with this. I say, you say this. Unless you got a gator hidden, by June 1st, I'm killing every gator out there. If you care about them, take one home, put them in your pool, put them in your bathtub. But anything in the wild is dead.
And it always seems like, 1 year it's the sharks, attacking, and then we don't hear about that.
But I'm telling you, you don't hear about sharks killing this much.
Yeah, that's
Not
true.
three
Just
in a
bite.
week.
Yeah.
Here's some video. They may show the victims in this.
Here is Jeff. Jeff, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Ron, how you doing today, buddy?
Don't worry how I'm doing. How you doing down there in Florida, bro?
I'm doing all right. I'm up in Pennsylvania right now, though, but that's where I'm from. Yeah, I was in Kissimmee several years ago when you had your show out of Florida, and I happened to show up at Gatorland when you sent Flipper out there, and I know he was right in the middle of them gators. And you might want to call him
we
yeah,
had
you might want to call him an ass.
we had him swim through the gator pond, didn't we?
Yeah, and he was feeding them raw chicken and stuff.
Yeah. We had tied something, I believe, to him so that he would be able to properly swim. Here's Tommy from Florida. How you doing, Tommy?
Hey, man, what's going on, Ronnie?
Yeah.
Hey, I lived out in Tallahassee, Florida, man. I remember you took me back in the day. Yeah, man, those gators are fast as hell once they rise up, and they can go about 10, 15 yards real fast, and that's about it, you know. So they wait low in the water or in the weeds, and they'll jump out. And once they grab hold of you, then you're done.
But Tommy, you honestly don't think you could beat a gator in a fight?
Man, me and my buddies just get drunk and go through beer cans at gators down in the lake there in Lake Jackson, and we jump on them, shit like that, and screw around with them, you know. We got nipped a few times, but...
All right, thanks, buddy. I wonder how Bush won Florida. All right, 866-RON-0-FEZ, 866-RON-0-FEZ. Here's Kind Bud. Kind Bud, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
What up, boys?
All right, by the way, I'm seeing these women that were killed, and they're absolutely gorgeous. You're right, Fez.
Gators are targeting gorgeous Florida women.
It's awful. This story just has me furious right now. I can't even see straight. What do you got for us, Bud?
Those gators are profiling. Hey, but what I want to tell you, gators are faster than people on land, and like your last caller stole a little thunder for a brief period, but they can haul ass when they need to. Even the big fat ones.
A really quick burst of speed, and they're on top of you.
Like a lunge.
All right, let me ask you this,
You can't
Fez.
fight one. Those fuckers are heavy and badass.
I'm going to go in underneath. I'm going to find some soft underbelly, and I'm going to destroy that son of a bitch. I'm going to hit it with an uppercut.
That's how it has to be done. Anything on top or right in the front of the face, it's all
What about
too
the
tough.
eyeball? I'll dig a thumb into the eyeball. Here's Tom, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, buddy.
Yeah, you know, from what I understand, the first girl who was attacked, which she was a model, the way I heard it was that she was jogging and she was sitting on either some kind of bridge or some kind of edge with her feet dangling in the water. And the gator came up, grabbed her leg or legs, and pulled her in, and that's how she got attacked, the first girl.
Oh, God, it's just so disgusting.
And that's what they do. They pull them in the water and they
it's
drown
a
them.
death roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take you down.
That's right.
Take you down the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, they're lurking around waiting. It's just like, you know, the scene in Crocodile Dundee when she's down by the water and they pull her in by something around her neck. They're just waiting and lurking, and they pulled the first girl in. That's how they got her.
Remember her ass in that scene, though? Fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal 80s ass. I mean, if people act like there were no nice asses in the 80s, I'll just go watch Crocodile Dundee. Watch Crocodile Dundee before we start to make disparaging remarks about the 80s rump. Jason, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
And back when I thought I knew everything, I moved out to Florida. It was like my second day there. We're at the C-14 canal. There's a gator there, and I'm smacking him in the head with a cattail. And a lady game warden saw me come jump all over my ass and was telling me that if he wanted me, he could have got me. They supposedly can run as fast as a horse for like 30 yards or something like that, man.
All right, let's do it. Let's get a horse racing against a gator. I would love to see it. Or
and one more quick thing. Do you remember several years ago when it was the Barracudas? There were 3 attacks in 1 week out there, and that lady... They come out of the water.
I'm a big fan of Heart, so you're preaching to the choir. Why don't we do something like this? I know the Preakness is coming up. It's what's the horse that won last time? Had some crazy ass name.
Barbaro.
Thank you, Barbaro. You tell the owner of Barbaro, get a hold of him. Say I want that horse to run, but I then want to line up a team of gators running 30 yards apiece in a relay race. And don't make a big deal that they have to pass a baton. I can't train them that quickly. One just jumps up, he runs in the other one's ass, and that one takes off. I'm going to probably need about 120 gators to make this thing happen for the Preakness. Get it done, Earl. Get it done. Here is Adam. Adam, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, how about it, buddies?
Hey, buddy boy.
Hey, I live down here in South Georgia, and I've hunted tons of gators. And let me tell you, them things can run. A full-grown 14-footer can go about 35 miles an hour for about 50 yards.
And then what happens? They have to. They just burn out and they lay down?
They burn up. Yeah, their legs are too short, but they 35 miles an hour, they're going to catch your ass.
I'm going to tell you right now, I would hand everybody in Florida a gun at this point. 3 in 1 week? I mean, this is serial killer bullshit.
Yeah, and work on your 40-yard dash time. Because if you can get that far, you should be safe.
Try to stay 60 yards away from any water. Farmer Cav, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, boys, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, I don't feel bad for these broads, because I know these broads will never screw a normal-looking fellow like myself. I'd probably have a better night in bed with the alligator. I say, let the alligators live. Hell with the good-looking babe.
Kev, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Pennsylvania.
Now, at any point in line, I mean, if we did away with who wouldn't fuck you, there would be nobody left on the planet. So that cannot be the criteria.
Including the gators.
I got a fucking dildo that turned around on you. So it ain't going to happen, Kev. And you know what? You're a grown man. Stop calling yourself farmer. Thank you very much. You know, you got to remember these people, they have family, they have loved ones. You don't want to be making any jokes at their expense. This is humans against gators. I'm talking about the species right now. We have got to protect our species. It's a bug planet down there in Florida.
I wish the president would bring this up tonight instead of just immigration.
Yeah, you send 10,000 people somewhere, send them down into the swamps of Florida, and have them shoot the hell out of everybody. Craig, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hello?
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, I just want to let you know, I first moved down here to Florida, I got chased by a gator.
Yeah.
I remember back in science class, what they tell you to do when you're being chased by a gator is run in a zigzag pattern because...
I thought that was a bear.
No, that's with a gator, too, because the gator can't keep up with you if you're running in a zigzag pattern. It throws their balance all off.
What about a post pattern? Do you just hit them with simple post? Or a square out? What about square out?
Just don't button hook.
No, you button hook, you're going to be face-to-face with a gator.
You're just dead.
He just hung up in frustration. All right, we have another guest coming up in a few moments here, Fez.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner, his latest film is 12 and Holding. He's also got a film in theaters now, The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things. And later this year, he'll be in The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, starring Brad Pitt.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
So he's got a lot of things on his plate.
All right, let's bring him in and... have him promote this. It's 12 and Holding, independent film out there, right?
Yeah, from IFC Films, 12 and Holding. It's going to open this coming Friday, the 19th in New York, and then a week from this coming Friday, the 26th in Los Angeles, 12 and Holding.
And over the weekend, we caught you on the telephone, man? You were on the phone at the time? Yeah, we're on the air right now.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, good to see you. I'm Ron, this is Fez.
Hey, Jeremy.
How about you? What's going on?
And you were working the phones out there?
Yeah, it's my buddy JD from In Excess. We haven't
talked. Very nice.
Yeah,
yeah. J.D. Fortune, the guy who...
J.D. Fortune. What a fantastic name, isn't it? Jesus.
Now,
sounds made up.
How did you how did you become friends with him during his run there last year?
Yeah, he apparently... I never saw the show, but he... apparently was locked in this area while they're doing the show, and the first time he got out was right across in the strip club at this bar, and all he could do in the interim during the show was just watch movies, couldn't watch any sort of media, that kind of stuff. So he saw Dahmer and SWAT and all these things that I ended up doing, and so he's staring at me. I'm like, this guy's creeping me out. I'm like, some guy's just staring me down the bar. Then he just came over and ended up being like the sweetest kid. And
so he ended up saying all your work at one time?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
What is happening with you when you're doing an independent film? Because you'll go back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. And is it a matter of you're looking for these things, or you're still at that point where, hey, there's work to be done. I want to get out there and do whatever I can with the part.
There's I don't know. It's mostly kind of what opportunities present themselves. It's hard to kind of go out there and chase things. You know, it's difficult.
I mean, how many people in Hollywood do you really think turn down roles? There's not a lot. Because most of us that watch film are like, oh, geez, why would this guy do that? But most of the time, it's like, here's the project. I want to do what I can, right?
No, I disagree. But
Really?
I've always turned down a lot of things.
Have you?
Even I'd starve, mind you. My power was was candlelight, and I'd eat top ramen, but I'd turn down a role just because I didn't think it was right.
Wow, I had no idea.
I think if an actor sometimes does a role in a movie, maybe didn't turn out so great. That's out of his control.
Right.
You know, maybe the script was fantastic. A lot of times you have a great script, but the movie just falls apart for whatever reason.
You know what? Sometimes I'll read scripts for fun, and I would have no idea of what is a great script and what isn't. Because sometimes I'll read these, and particularly if they're like more action-based or
right,
stuff.
Yeah, if they're visual or
I'm
something
like,
like that.
I have no idea that I would say, yeah, this is something I would be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, everybody chooses a role for different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, just if you need the money, or if, you know, you want to work with that director or certain actors, or if the role is just fantastic and maybe the movie or the story's not so terrific.
How long ago did you start acting?
I was started in college. I was like 19.
So at that point you go, I'm just going to go to L.A. after I'm out? Or?
Yeah. I went to San Francisco and studied ACT, and then went to Maui to save some money, and then lived in L.A. for like the last 13 years.
Yeah.
And,
so good move from the right away, or did it take you years to?
It took me about a year and a half to start working, and I was, you know, pretty lucky in the sense that I can call myself an actor. I mean, the first year and a half is like, people, why are you here? I'm like, well, I couldn't call myself an actor because I wasn't working. But after that, I was, you know, I started building up enough credits and getting paid to do what I love to do, which is, you know, very lucky.
And even when you're at that thing where you're not really making a full living, you're still kind of hanging around with people who are doing very well, right?
Yeah, or not so well. Most people aren't doing so well.
Yeah. But I mean, is that weird for you when things are going your way, and for some of your friends, they're just not working at all, right?
Well, I think it sort of makes it very tangible for them. Guys, good friends of mine that they've been around for 13 years, and they're seeing now for the last 5 years of me working constantly, and they just see it like as like, hey, it's a possibility, it's real, and this guy's working, and you know, he's our bud. It's like, you know, it becomes very tangible for them versus like this is ambiguous, vague sort of, you know, unattainable goal.
But the jealousy thing doesn't pop up between friends?
There's a difference between jealousy and envy.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's more of an envy thing, maybe. Jealousy is like they want what I have and they want to take away that. I don't deserve it. But
right.
They know very well that I'm very deserving what I sacrificed to.
But when you guys were coming up, were there ever guys that would see working a lot and go, why him? Why this son of a bitch?
Yeah, I mean, there's people like that now. I mean, it has nothing to do with me. I don't want to take anything away from them. Like, well, you know, wow, they suck, and they keep getting hired. It just baffles me. It's a little frustrating. You know, and they're getting jobs that, you know, fine, you know, you're lost. I don't feel bad if I don't get a job and I see X, you know, actor slide in. I'm like, okay, well, you got good, you didn't get great, or whatever. I'm just very confident in the fact that, like, all right, you got a good-looking guy, that's about it.
Now, are you competitive with some of the guys? Is there like certain guys that maybe you go up against a lot for different roles, or?
There's a handful of guys because I go up for a lot of like leading and character stuff. So then, like me and Sam Rockwell, who's actually a really good buddy of mine, we'll go up for the same stuff a lot, even though he plays a little bit older than I do. Peter Sarsgaard, another guy that's up and coming, we go up for the same sort of roles. Then there are, like, you know, the bigger stars, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger and all these other guys that...
so those guys are going to, if they can get them for the films, they're going to go with them just because they're established now.
Yeah, exactly. That and they can bring more money to a picture and that sort of thing. But
the guys that you're talking about competing against still are just terrific.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
You did this film that we just saw, which is a pretty strange film, 12 and Holding. Your part is... I would guess, and I don't want to give anything away for the folks that haven't seen, but there's a couple of really uncomfortable scenes there had to be for you, right?
Yeah.
What is that like when you work into something when, you know, boy, this could really come off, you know, unless there's at least two scenes I know of that if they're not done perfectly, they're going to look really cheesy and bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm definitely very confident going in just having Michael Cuesta helm this thing because after LIE, you just know he's very, very good with children, having children himself. The way he communicates, and they're not kids, man. These, I don't know if you've spoken with them, but they're very articulate, much smarter than I, seemingly. I mean, genius little kids, and couldn't be more professional on set. So, and the way these scenes in particular, so when you see the movie, the way they were handled was with such grace and in communication and ways to kind of finagle around, just to protect the children, first of all. Not that they're that heavy of scenes, but you're dealing with sexual content, and it's just the way they were communicated about it a lot. And then just how it comes across in the story, on screen, I just think it's all out of innocence coming from my character. So even though her obsessiveness kind of crosses a line, there's no, I mean, it definitely, when you're watching it, it's like, oh, this can really go a wrong way.
Right.
Which, you're right, it could, but coming from my perspective, like, it would never cross that line.
But you know what I dug, that I didn't know what your character was going to do.
Exactly. That's why I was very attracted to the role. It's very mysterious. He's a good guy, but you're not quite sure he's right in that line.
But he's got some dark past, and every kind of character in the film had this really dark past.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of those places where I thought that I had the film straightened out. Mm-hmm. The ending, for instance, no idea. Yep. No idea we were going in that direction. And your character in particular, I don't know whether it's because you didn't really give away too much in the beginning. Even the scenes that you did with the psychiatrist, you didn't let anybody know.
Yeah.
And that was all in the script that way?
A lot of it was in the script and like how it was revealed. It's just information and what you're revealing to the audience at a certain time. And so that part of it was kind of easy. My job really was to really fill each moment in honesty and have a nice through line with this, this young woman and this friendship and why they're actually hanging out and what's the reason, and just to keep it honest and very truthful. Like, this little girl comes up to the construction site to have a picnic. Well, well, she's endearing, she's charming, she's bright, and I'm new to town. I find reasons to sort of like, not in a sexual way, but like, hey, this girl's just friendly and ballsy, and like, that's fantastic.
You have to go back and work it out in your mind why this guy would get there, stuff that you don't explain to us in the audience.
Right, because he's not aware why he is attracted to this young girl until he finds out in therapy. I don't want to get much away, but he has a dark past.
And that's because everyone kind of sees themselves as a good guy, right? Like Hitler is a good guy to himself, and you played Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right.
What kind of motivation?
Right. You can't really judge a character that you're going to play. I could only play what was true in his own mind and what he felt and what he believed, and then maybe more importantly, what drives him to feel and do the things that he did.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I
don't think he's like twisting his mustache and like skipping to the mall like, I can't wait to kill some little kid.
Right.
And go eat him. It's like, just became out of this true desire to be understood and to be loved, and out of lack of communication and all these other horrible things that, he didn't have in his life. And then he kind of just went about it a wrong way.
So even in a serial murderer and a guy who's eating people, you still think the same motivations kind of...
I just try to do it emotionally. I just try to do it from an emotional sort of standpoint, and what drives somebody. Like you're a radio host, right? There's a lot of people that do what you do, but why you do what you do makes it more specific to you individually,
right?
Versus yourself, right? Why you do what you do. And that's just as a job.
So even though both
you can be a husband, you can be a brother, you can be a lot of things, but why you are what you are makes it more specific to an individual. So then I look at Jeffrey Dahmer, or any character I play. It's like I look at he's a serial killer, cannibal, all these sort of things, right? But like, what drove him really to make this guy who he is, and what drives me to get up every day out of bed, or inspires you. It's like bigger in the bigger picture, and a much more subliminal.
Now, did you have to discover that in research for him, or did you kind of discover that in yourself as the character, that what drives him?
I discovered it more in I didn't know anything about the guy, and I had 4 days to really kind of read about him.
Really?
Before we started in principal photography. So I just read all these one-sided journalistic views on these books, which were kind of trite, but it was nice to know, okay, he killed 17 people, is from here, is born here, da-da-da-da-da-da. Kind of uninteresting, but needed to know. What I really found interesting was a father story written by Lionel Dahmer. His father was sort of a reflective view back on his life, and maybe the relationships with his family, and then things that I thought were more important.
Because he was an abused kid, right?
No, and that's
he
the
wasn't?
thing. No, that's why they really wanted to study him, because he didn't fall into the category of what normal serial killers, have. Like, he was an abused childhood, wasn't sexually molested, and all these sort of things. He just had abandonment issues. He's had all these severe sort of traumas that we all really kind of go through in a way. Like, have abandonment issues of all right, whatever, but I just choose to deal with them differently.
Right.
Not eat people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that came from some other strange place, man. But to try to even make sense, to get a grasp on what that guy was thinking and feeling was the challenge, and maybe I grasped just a fraction.
Just a little bit, huh?
Yeah,
and that's another small independent film that you did that one on, or?
Yeah, that was shot for like $200,000 in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
12 and Holding, we had a little bit more money, like $700,000 in 25
but
days.
You're still not getting the trailers, and you're taking care of yourself more.
Yeah,
right?
but we're all doing it because we love it.
And how fast did you shoot this 12 and Holding?
12 and Holding is 25 days.
Now, you do that, and you got little kids that it's got to be tougher for them to do these scenes than adults, right?
Yeah.
So
they can only work a certain amount of hours.
Uh-huh. So. But I would imagine, wouldn't you have to reshoot more with kids, too? I mean...
these kids are great, man.
They're just that good,
I pretty much only work with Zoe, so I can only speak for her professionally and working with her, and she was, dead on.
The other thing I loved about the film, too, is, it was like the all-star character actor team that you had. Everybody that was playing even small, doctor roles and all, you've seen do a million different roles.
Yeah, all the supporting cast is fantastic.
Is that because of the director, or the people come in?
I think so, and the script was solid, man.
Yeah.
Not often you get a solid script and then it ends up transferring to screen very well, but I think we're all very lucky that the way it turned out.
So you got this other film that you shot with Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah.
And what's the name of that?
It's called The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. It's a mouthful.
Now, that's a big Hollywood film.
I wouldn't say. It's a bigger movie. It's shot for $40 million, and for a big studio picture, they're trying to make it like a higher end independent, really.
Right.
They're not trying
much
to make
more
it,
dialogue.
Yeah, they're not trying to make it a Brad Pitt movie by any means, any glossy Hollywood film. The Roger Deakins, the DP, does a lot of Coen Brothers things. Genius. Andrew Dominik's the director who did Chopper, and comes. It's a very sort of it's a huge picture, 168-page script. It's like this epic of this story about Jesse James that pretty much most people know. There's been a million movies about Jesse James, but this one's different in the sense that tonally how it's told, and then it's told through the eyes of the guy who kills him. So we're not pulling any punches. It's not ruining anything. We all know that Jesse James dies and is assassinated. So this is a story just kind of told more in a Goodfellas sort of sense. There's not a lot of action, riding horses, guns. There's not one cowboy we had in the movie. We all wear derbies. They're city folk, So it's much more of a Goodfellas in the sense it's sitting around a campfire and contemplating, philosophizing, who's in this group. Now the reward's out for Jesse's head, that sort of thing. Now we're sitting talking over a campfire over a cup of beans, but are you going to kill me? Or am I going to get killed here? It's always a fear-based sort of scene, so it creates a lot of tension.
And, Pitt is one of those guys I'll follow in. I feel like he does make good choices. I feel like, he wants to do something more than just play the movie star all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being in with us today. The film opens this weekend, and is it rolling out, or is it?
Yeah, it's going to be rolling out. It'll be like 4 theaters in New York, 4 in L.A., and then it'll roll out to bigger cities, I think, after that.
All right.
Depending on how well it does. I'm not sure.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Jeremy Brenner. The film is 12 and Holding. It's going to open this Friday. It's IFC film opening this Friday in New York. And then a week from this Friday, that's the 26th in Los Angeles.
We'll be right back. Coming out this weekend, Fez.
12 and Holding. That's going to open in New York this Friday, and then on the 26th it opens in Los Angeles. Then it's going to roll out nationwide from IFC Films.
Have you done any films yet, Fez?
You know what? I don't think I've seen it. The only thing I saw so
Have you
far
been in any?
Oh, have I been in any? No. Never been in a movie.
Little Jonah Bobo's done 2, so that's really weird.
Yeah, passing me up.
That Poseidon that you were all interested in, that took a big dump, huh?
Yeah, only brought in $20 million over the weekend. Couldn't even hit number 1. Mission Impossible 3 was the number 1 movie at the box office, bringing in another $24 million.
Now, who would have thought America would have lined up? Because I guess they spent a lot of money on this, right?
Oh, yeah.
To watch the Poseidon Adventure 2. Why would they have thought it would have worked?
It's just the same premise, right? But
Yeah.
just different characters. And they just did a TV one with Steve Guttenberg, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was one on TV.
He's still alive. Steve Guttenberg still walks the streets.
I think he survived the Poseidon on TV.
That was the Poseidon on TV? Did they even call it that?
Yeah, Poseidon Adventure they called it.
Did they sing There's Got to Be a Morning After?
No, they didn't do that.
Or did they have a hip-hop version?
So we just got Poseidoned out.
Yeah, well.
And no one showed up to see this thing over the weekend.
Nobody went to the first one in the 70s. Stupid.
And then there was the second one, if you remember, with Telly Savalas and Michael Caine, The Poseidon Adventure 2.
I am hearing about it first time right now. I had no idea of Poseidon 2.
Beyond this Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, okay.
There's still got to be another morning after.
Been through all this before.
Earl, play Bill Cosby bitching about you people, if you would, please.
We are many, many things. We are the weakest. We are the strongest within ourselves. There are tons and tons of examples of those who were down as low as anybody can be in terms of having a foot on your throat. And they tossed that foot away, got up, and they won. And then there are those who have had things, and they just allowed themselves to become a part of something called a culture that, as Minister Farrakhan said, is leading our children into the valley of death. I'm watching TV and I see a host of a show who's applauding a movie about some damn pimp and how rough his life is, and a movie about some damn drug dealer and how intelligent he is because he could count money. These people have gone crazy.
All right, so what exactly is he saying, Earl?
He's bitching that, people who, movies that portray people as pimps and people who are, they make movies that portray people like drug dealers who know how to count money.
What was Uptown Saturday Night about?
About two con men.
Yeah. So it's not like you're always going to be playing the right guy.
I think they made 3 of those movies where they played basically con men.
Yeah. So there you are. You're playing your part of black people stealing from people, and you're acting like you're better than everyone.
No, it was always of the angle we're stealing from people who deserve to be stolen from. It was always like they stole from the mob or crooked cops.
But don't you hate it that we're at a point now where we're still like a person? I mean, we just had that kid in here earlier who, he's still at a point in his career where he's worked a lot, but he's not, George Clooney. Why does some of these guys, these black guys, have to act like they're taking on the whole race every time they do a film?
Yeah, I always felt that way because, I don't know, it's just, suddenly I have to, when people call up and say I don't sound black enough, I'm like, so define black for me. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? It's like, what? Because I know I'm educated, I know how to read. I was like, what point do you take that step up?
But why do you have to always represent a race? Why can't you just represent a character in the film that you're playing?
Or represent yourself.
It's not like we don't have films that no longer have positive black characters in them. There's plenty of those films. If you're a mother, a black mother, and you just want to show your kids positive role models, you can do that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, if I see a movie with, let's say, 50 Cent in it, I'm not expecting him to play a lawyer. I'm expecting him to play a thug. You kind of walk into it knowing
Here's
that.
what I want to say to Bill Cosby. Is pimping easy?
Pimping ain't easy.
Thank you. That's the point of this. I think you sit down and watch that film, and you come out of it knowing pimping ain't easy.
And I loved how he was criticized. He was naming Hustle and Flow. He pointed out Hustle and Flow. I loved Hustle and Flow. I thought it was one of the best movies to come out last year.
Well, I didn't think it was a great film. I thought it was a great character, though. And I thought it was a great role for him. But at the same time, I don't want him to act like I'm a proud black man and all I'm going to play is doctors. You know what I mean? You've got to play all different characters. It's just insane to suddenly ask people to do that all the time.
I mean, I look at Denzel Washington. He's played a doctor. He's played a killer. He's played a corrupt cop.
And my good friend Lawrence Fishburne, he plays all kinds of characters.
Matrix. He played the Matrix.
Assault on Precinct 13.
Played a cowboy and Pee-wee.
But then remember him in King of New York? Yeah, give me all the shrimp. Give me all the shrimp you got.
He was also in Death Wish 2 as well.
Was that right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Playing what part?
He was one of the thugs.
You said you had a crazy phone call the other night after you left the party.
Well, I'll set this up.
Don't give the person's name.
Okay. First of all, I just wanted to say Mother's Day hit.
Right.
Okay. 12 o'clock, stroke of midnight. My chick is left with, puppet juice-soaked jacket. Fucker. And the gentleman that is sitting across from me, Fezzy, offered my chick his jacket.
Very nice.
So nice. So
Gallant,
that's
actually.
that's going crazy. We get home.
Goofus.
I'm unloading. Helen comes.
Unloading, you mean coming?
Both. We would,
Okay.
after we took the drums in.
Okay.
And then Helen says,
"Oh, you're unloading the car."
"Oh yeah."
Oh.
Right.
And then Helen is saying to me, "Oh my God!" Now my daughter is at a sleepover at somebody's house, and we get this crazy message. She's evil. Watch out for her. Oh, and all this nutty stuff.
Saying your daughter is evil.
No.
Oh.
Just saying she is evil. Stay away from her. Just more evil stuff, and like she's bad, no good, and then click. Nothing. No name. No, I know who it was, but no name, nothing. And
Well,
it scared the hell out of us at first
Yeah.
because we didn't know who it was.
Well, I see. I already know who it is because he was telling other people that down there.
Well, I'll tell you, man.
I'll just say this: he's an employee of Sirius Radio.
Yes.
Used to be an employee of ours.
But that's
Why was he talking about evil all night?
I have no idea where that came from. I mean, I know I've seen that person drink so much that devil face comes out, and it seems par for the course.
But did you hear the stories that he was telling?
Oh, yeah. I was hearing them from other people.
He was telling people, "I need my brother with me. This room is filled with evil," and all this, beyond. We were talking about this the other night. At our party, there was at least a half a dozen people that we know well who took the "I'm drunk" into a whole new
Oh,
strength
yeah.
skills. Yeah.
I mean, there were a few people that were just out of it. And that was good. I had a little cocktail.
And your chick wasn't drinking at all, right? She's not drinking now?
No.
So that was her first time of ever partying and not having a little buzz while all
Yeah.
the weirdness is going on.
Right.
Because it gets even wackier when you're sober.
Yeah, because I didn't drink all that night because I gave up the drinking. And to see it was like some sort of grotesque painting. To just see how messed up people were. Because usually I'm more along those lines than along the sober lines.
Right, you're not in that portrait anymore. You're
Right.
looking at it.
Evil. Now, was the person he was talking about French?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And, he gets that red face and that, that look with his eyes, man.
They start rolling back in his head.
And, I saw him outside on the street, and it's just like he didn't want to get in the cab, and he's trying to get in my car, and finally he was thrown into a cab.
He was still there when you left because you guys went to eat when I left.
Yes.
And I saw him standing on the corner. They were trying to get him in the cab.
And he wouldn't
go.
go.
That was before your meal even started.
I ran into him on the subway platform, and he was saying a lot of the same things, and I'm like, I'm going to walk to the front.
What was
of
he
the-
saying?
He was just saying, he was just muttering under his breath, like, evil. It's like, she's evil. She's totally
But
evil.
then here's the thing. He must have got all the way back to Long Island by train, and it still hasn't worn off. He's still bringing up the evil stuff.
And again, why call me at home and leave that message?
Sounds like he was going through the Rolodex.
I mean, and it weirded me out because you know him very well. And I was like, good night, and I'm gonna keep walking. And I walked all the way up to the front of the platform.
You know what's really funny, though? Every time I talked to him that night, couldn't have been more normal. And then people come over, is he okay? And I would go back and check on him, and he was just like, yeah, man, how's everything? He would really keep it together talking to me. But then talking to everyone else, he just fell into this madness.
Yeah, I heard all the evil stories secondhand.
I heard it secondhand, and then I heard it, and then I saw it, and like I said, loading up in the car, he's right there. He was right by my car, still on the street with his friend, Jesse, trying to get him in a cab, and he just wouldn't do it. Finally, Jesse just said, "Come on, we got to go." So obviously, he got to a station or something.
Yeah, they were going back to Penn.
Some people cannot drink anymore. It just seems like it's a recent thing.
But he scared the hell out of me, Again,
sure.
I didn't know who that was at first when we got that message.
You're like, Mom, why are you calling here again? Evil.
It was scary.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't be afraid. Be a man.
Okay.
Stand up to it. There's some evil in the world. So what other movies are coming out this weekend, Fez?
This weekend is the Da Vinci Code. That's the big one this weekend.
Are you going to see it?
I'm going to see the Da Vinci Code, yeah.
I know your church said no, right?
Oh, yeah. They're really against
They
it.
have official, I think the Catholic Church unofficial no. And Earl, just your church, nothing, no mention at all, right?
They denounced it as fiction, but they didn't say don't go out and see this movie.
It's not denounced, it is fiction. I know. No one ever said it wasn't fiction.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, but they were just like, it's just crap, and, you know.
Your
but they
church
never
said this is crap.
No, I'm paraphrasing, of course.
You
but
can't paraphrase, Earl. Let me ask you guys this. When you're picking a movie, how do you decide when to go? What do you make your decision on? Do you listen to critics? Do you wait for your friends? Is it the trailer?
It's just, if I'm interested in the subject, I go.
Right.
Or, you know, I like action movies as well. So
you're like, if that's an action movie, I'm going to give it a shot.
But also, if it's intriguing, like a Da Vinci Code thing, I like that stuff. Like, there was a Stigmata a few years back that's almost sort of like that same type of thing. So I like those type of movies.
I can't imagine two films more further apart. And Stigmata is actually, you know, something is physically taking place, but Da Vinci Code, just the opposite. This is an alarm clock again?
Yeah.
Oh, my dad is going to love this hip-hop alarm clock. Can't wait to send it to him. Father's Day's coming up.
When I'm picking a movie, I am probably 90% word of mouth. If I hear somebody say this is a good movie, I am in. If I hear someone say, hey, I hated that movie, I am out, even if I was looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, but that means that you're never going to see the films first. You're going to wait until your friends see it.
Yeah, that's usually how I do it anyway.
Do you go by critics?
No, I don't usually listen to critics.
Word of mouth you'll go by, but not a professional critic.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to the critics very much. I just don't read that stuff.
Well, you see it and hear it all the time now, though.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Earl, what about you?
It's kind of a combination. I'm always a director.
I'm the same way. I'm like, if it's Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, the Coen brothers, Scorsese, guys that I feel like I'm going to go give them a shot right off the bat.
Yeah, someone I know has been very consistent. You know, the story's going to be strong. Critics, I'm kind of hit and miss because sometimes critics will hate a movie that is great. You'll go see it and like it anyway. But I'm always more of a director or writer.
More or less, though, a single critic could do that, but not. Most of all, you could tell if there's good buzz for a movie, it's normally a good movie out of the critics. And if there's bad buzz, it's really bad. Now, you may I like really stupid comedies. And the critics can't give, you know what I mean? They can't give Mama's Family fucking 2 thumbs up. It's still embarrassing. You can't blame them for that.
I remember, when Ace Ventura came out, they were calling this one of the worst movies of the year.
Well, they didn't even take it to the critics.
Yeah, exactly. And then
that was one of those things that bypassed letting the critics see it out front.
And that usually is something like they do that on purpose, of course, because they don't want them to pan it.
Well, you're right. They know they've got a Larry the Cable Guy in their hands, and there's nothing they can do about it.
The pans are coming, so just put them off.
I remember one year, this in my local newspaper, Asbury Park Press, critic Eleanor O'Sullivan gave Pulp Fiction 2.5 stars, and then gave Showgirls 3 fucking stars, which means never listen to another critic again for the rest of my life.
All because of Eleanor?
All because of Eleanor O'Sullivan. Hack.
Well, you know, she is writing for the Asbury Park, whatever it is, where every day it's Springsteen was seen. Every day. Guess what Bruce is up to now? 866-RON-0-FEZ. 866-RON-0-FEZ. My problems with the critics is not so much that I don't trust them. I don't like when they give away plot parts now, where they'll go way to the third act when the boat sinks. That's more of a problem for me than acting like, oh, these people don't understand my kind of films. Here is Peter. Peter, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ron Howard's last film before this was Cinderella Man, and that thing bombed at the box office, so I'm thinking the same thing's going to happen with this one.
Well, it's not like Ron Howard's never had any hits before.
Yeah, did he do Happy Days?
No, I mean, he's had very, very big movie hits. But at the same time, what do you care about the box office? That always amazes me when I talk to regular people, and they're like, well, this thing bombed or this thing did well, when it is never a matter of whether they like the film or not.
They're just looking at the dollars, man.
Yes, what do you care?
Doesn't matter.
What are you doing counting somebody else's money?
Like it's coming out of their pocket.
My all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorite movies died at the box office. Once Upon a Time in America did horribly here, but it's an amazing film.
Well, are you talking about the re-release by the director?
Yeah, the 4-hour cut.
Because the first one should have died.
It should have died.
The one-a-day release was terrible. And it made no sense at the end of it. Hey, Justin, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, boys.
Yeah.
Hey, I always like to look at RottenTomatoes.com.
I go to RottenTomatoes.com, too. That has all the criticism that every major paper, and then they will give you a percentage of how well the film is doing with critics. So you'll get like a 75 or an 80. And then you can see whether a film is getting panned or overall without going in and reading all the criticism. Now, a lot of times I like to go to that site, read it after it's a film that I liked and see whether they got the same thing out of. I don't mind the fact that some people like films more than other. Jeff, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ronnie, when that movie Ice Harvest came out, I thought I was going to love it. I loved John Cusack in Grosse Point Blank. I thought it was going to be the same deal. Had Richard Russo writing it. It just sucked. So it's totally hit and miss. You just have no idea.
It wasn't Richard Russo. It was Rene Russo. That's where you made your mistake.
That's a problem.
The hit and miss thing, yes, sometimes it's true. And it's why you can't always follow an actor because, let's face it, he's not always in charge of how things are going to go. A lot of times, the film takes on that personality of the writer and not the actor at all.
Usually, I think after word of mouth is probably actor for me, though. Or it's like I'll go see anything like Bill Murray's in.
Mm-hmm. Did you go see the last film that he did where he plays smaller parts, though? What was his last thing? He just had something come out like a week ago.
He's in this movie called The Lost City with Andy Garcia.
Oh, I hadn't even heard about this one.
Yeah, Andy Garcia was part of it. So he doesn't and rarely anymore plays starring roles.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you're going to go back 10 years probably. Probably in the last 10 years, there's only been 3 or 4 times that he's carried a film.
Yeah, where it's usually things like Kingpin or Ed Wood, those type of really small roles that he picks up.
Well, Kingpin and Ed Wood, both of those were over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a long, long time. But he's a guy that you'll go, if he's in the film, I'll go see it.
Yeah, I will go check out a Bill Murray film.
What about you, Mikey?
You know,
is there one actor that you'd go see?
I like Mel Gibson a lot. I like seeing his movies a lot.
No, he's directing a lot more than he's acting now.
Yeah, now
right?
he is. Yeah, and he made so much money with that. The
Passion of the Christ.
That's it.
Now his new one, he's actually attacking Bush. He said he goes, these leaders are so bad it reminds me of Bush. So you won't show up for that one, will you?
No, I'm gonna go.
Really?
I'll see it. Yeah.
You would cross party lines. You've never done that before. What about you, Dave? Any actor alone that you would show up for?
Yeah, Harry Ford and Pacino, my two big, and Nicholson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Ed Norton, too.
So, pretty much any actor on the IMDb?
Pitt, Johnny Depp, and Sean Penn. But besides that, those are the only guys.
Yeah.
No actress. No. There's no point in that. Like, people, so I know some guys like Angelina Jolie, but I'm not going to spend $8 on her.
There's very few actresses, believe it or not, that are draws. There's probably only one consistently been a draw over the last 20 years, and that's Julia Roberts. Other than that, I don't know anybody who they would say, oh, this woman can carry a movie.
Back in the day, no Meryl Streep, wasn't she a draw or no?
No, she was always loved by actors and critics, but never has been like people going, we've got to go, you know, they don't line up for the big Meryl Streep movie the way they would for like, you know, Tom Cruise or whatever.
Right.
Hey, Jeff, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, what about Bill Murray Lost in Translation?
What about him?
That was you didn't mention that. He carried that movie. He was
I said he's probably carried like 3 or 4 in the last 10 years. Certainly not like he did the 10 years before. Dave, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ronnie, I just wanted to mention Bill Murray and The Life Aquatic. That was just, a couple years ago, like 2 years ago?
Yeah, and again, that is one of them. What I'm trying to say is, when normally you say, and even that film, he was part of an ensemble. It's not like when he was making Stripes and What About Bob that when Bill Murray shows up, he's going to be in 100% of them. I'm not saying Bill Murray's not a movie star. I love the guy as much as Fez. I'm saying that it's not always a rule of thumb the way it used to be.
We got it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Any new words on Roberto?
No, I guess I'll have to wait for the Master of Puppets to email me again. I mean, I tried.
Here's my new prediction. Master of Puppets?
Yeah.
Master P, Master Poe.
Ooh.
He was there the other night.
Putting it together.
He hates you.
So.
See you guys tomorrow. Take care.
The Ron and Fez Show. XM 202.